Hello everyone, Xeno What If here. Bring in part 15 of What If Jackie Chan was in W.I.T.C.H. Link in the description of the fanfiction of this What If. Listen here YouTube. I do not own anything and this is not a scam. The demon behind. Somewhere in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, a fishing boat owned and operated by one fisherman had just hauled in a large net carrying a massive assortment of fish. However, before he could dump it all in storage, the fisherman gave a gasp as he saw that he had caught something else in the net besides fish. It was a mask. A bright blue demonic-looking mask with green eyes and an open-fanged mouth. Oni, the fisherman looked in awe before a smile formed on his face. This antique looks valuable. This is my lucky day. Not. Dark Kai warrior Ratso stated as he suddenly appeared and grabbed the fisherman with a life preserver before throwing him overboard as Finn and Chow, along with Daolan Wong, Cedric, and Miranda, both shapeshifters in their human form, all appeared as well. Chow had yanked the Oni mask from the net and was ready to put it on his face. Demon magic, here I come. Not. Miranda swiped the mask from him. We made the mistake of letting one of you idiots use this kind of power, it won't happen again. Ah, that isn't fair. Finn complained. You know what else isn't fair? Wong said as he aimed his scepter at them. Being cast into darkness for all eternity. This caused the Dark Hand trio to back away, realizing they had no real say in the matter. Miranda, perhaps I should wear this mask. Cedric offered. After all, you must still fool Elion into thinking she has a friend in Meridian. And it may be difficult to do so if you have a demon's face. I see your point. Very well, Lord Cedric. Miranda handed him the mask. It's yours. Not. Jackie Chan suddenly appeared, swinging from a hook on the boat, to swipe the mask from Miranda before Cedric could grab it. Chan. All the villains exclaimed. And friends. They heard Will's voice shout as she, Jade, Cornelia, Haylin, Irma, and Terani all flew down in their guardian forms, with Cornelia carrying Caleb. The second they landed, Haylin inhaled to blow a massive gust of wind in an attempt to blow their enemies off the boat. However, Cedric and Miranda had already transformed into their beastly forms, with Miranda clinging to Cedric as he used his own massive weight to keep himself from being blown back while Daolan Wong created a barrier of dark magic to protect himself. However, the Dark Kai enforcers were not so lucky as they were blown completely off the boat and into the ocean. Meanwhile, Toru, who was in a motorboat on the other side of the larger fishing boat, had helped the fisherman out of the water, but had also brought a fish up as well, which flapped in Toru's face before going back into the water. I hate fish. Haylin ceased her air attack as their enemies were ready to fight back. You know, as much as we'd love to kick your butts again, we got places to be. Irma said to the villainous trio with a smirk. Toru. Jackie called to him and before tossing him the Oni mask. Go. 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 Not. The heroes turned in shock to see Cedric ensnaring none other than Alchemy with his tail and holding her over the water. You may want to rethink your plan, Guardians. Wong told them. Else you wish for your friend to meet a watery grave. Cedric added with a sneer. Alchemy. Cornelia exclaimed. Sorry guys, guess I'm catch of the day, Alchemy winced apologetically. Immediately, Caleb drew his katana while Terani, Irma, Haylin, and especially Cornelia readied their respective abilities. Let her go. Now, Caleb demanded. Hand us the mask, and we will. Miranda proposed. Alright, let's not do anything crazy. Will said, trying to act like the mediator. However, she paid a glance toward Jade, the two making eye contact with Jade glancing toward Irma. All three of them exchanged subtle nods as Jade began to channel her shadow powers over Cedric's own massive shadow to shoot out a spike right into Cedric's back. The massive humanoid snake gave out a cry in pain, surprising his allies, and forcing him to drop Alchemy. Fortunately, Irma had used her own powers to shoot up a spout of water from the other side of the boat to catch Alchemy and propel her high into the air, where Cornelia flew up to catch her. I gotcha. Cornelia assured her friend as she flew her back down to the boat. Using this surprise, Terani was the first to attack with a volley of fireballs at Wong, forcing the Dark Kai wizard to shield himself, while also leaving him open for Jade, who had coated her fists in shadows, to throw out a punch right into Wong's face and knock him overboard to join his Dark Kai warriors in the water. Miranda had spat some webbing in Irma's direction, who flew up to avoid it, but this also allowed Will to fly in with a fishing cable from the boat to throw at the humanoid spider, catching onto her right back leg before pulling down on the cable with her own enhanced strength to hoist Miranda up into the air. At the same time, Jackie and Caleb rushed Cedric, who threw a pooch at the pair, forcing them to split and avoid the devastating fist that tore through the deck. Haylin began to concentrate her powers and form a small tornado around Cedric's whole body, spinning the air at such a fast rate that it began to cut at his scales and keep him trapped in a makeshift shield. However, Cedric used all the strength he could to break out of the tornado, creating a gust of wind to blow out in all directions, which blew the Guardians, Jackie, and Caleb back slightly, but also blew out all the fish trapped in the net the fishermen had previously caught, causing them all to pile on top of Toru, Cornelia, Alchemy, and even the poor and confused fishermen. Gross. Not again. Cornelia complained as she stuck her head out with a cringe and disgust, with even Alchemy being grossed out. "I hate fish," Toru muttered in tranquil fury as Jackie and Caleb jumped onto the boat with Jade, Irma, Will, Haylin, and Terani hovering down to join them as well. "You guys have the mask?" Will asked. "Right here." Alchemy showed the Oni mask in her hands. "Then it is time to leave," Jackie stated. "One more thing," Irma said with a smirk before it turned into a brief look of comic horror. "Please tell me I didn't just say that." But she got serious again as she concentrated all her powers on the water below the fishing boat to create a large tidal wave that had begun to turn the boat over, causing Cedric and Miranda to fall into the water with Daolon Wong and the Dark Hand trio, but not before the boat itself capsized and landed on top of all of them, causing Finn, Ratso, and Chow to poof away screaming while Wong, Miranda, and Cedric were knocked deeper into the water. As the villainous trio pulled themselves up on the side of the capsized boat to catch their breath, they looked in frustration to see the heroes already escaping on their motorboat. "So long, suckers," Jade mockingly called as she held up the Oni mask in gloating fashion before she spat raspberries at them. Meanwhile, the poor fisherman looked more confused than anything, even as Haylin handed him a bottle. "Here, have some tea," Haylin told him. "It's just normal tea and totally not laced with a special potion that'll make you forget anything magical you might have seen," she said with a nervous laugh. Later, the group had made it back to Heatherfield and were walking their way back to Uncle's Rare Finds as Jackie held the mask close to his person. "And that makes 5, Will said. "We're over halfway done." "Good, because I don't know how much more fish stench I could take." Cornelia shivered as she, Toru, and Alchemy still smelt like raw fish. "I can see why you don't like Big T. Toru said nothing but groaned in agreement. "I'm just glad this mask didn't end up on anyone's face," Caleb said. "We've seen 4 tribes of Shotokan already, and that's 4 too many." "So, what was the spell ingredient for this removal potion?" "Just wondering," Haylin asked. "Sakura's, Japanese cherry blossoms," Terani answered. "They actually bloom at different times depending on the regions in Japan which they grow. Kinda makes me want to go to Japan," Jade said. "As much as I love a Chan Clan world tour, it'd be nice to go somewhere and not have the fate of the world in our hands." "Oh yeah, totally," Irma agreed. "We could really use a vacation once this whole thing with Phobos and the Oni masks are done," Will added. "And once we get Elion back too. Maybe she could come with us," Alchemy suggested. Jackie smiled slightly. "Tell you all what. Once this quest is put to rest, I'll take you all on a trip." "My treat." That earned smiles from all the girls present. "Really? Thanks so much, Uncle Jackie." Haylin beamed as she and Jade were the first to hug him. "Maybe you could join us, Caleb," Cornelia offered. "You know, could be fun. To see the rest of our world, I mean. You know what? That actually sounds like a great idea. I'd love to." Caleb smiled with a nod. However, before they could get much farther, a trio of boys wearing cheesy monster masks jumped out in front of the group from a nearby alleyway. "Roar!" they all exclaimed in an attempt to get a fright out of the group, specifically the girls, but while Caleb, Jackie, and Toru looked partially confused, the girls all looked unamused. "Really, Uriah?" Irma saw through their attempt with everyone else. "Halloween's next week, you morons," Jade commented. "Aw come on. Why aren't you girls screaming in terror?" Uriah complained as he took off his mask along with his gang. "'Cause you guys aren't that scary," Terani said. "But we paid like $20 for these masks," Kurt complained. "Whoa, check out that mask." Clubber pointed to the Oni mask in Jackie's possession. Uriah gave an impressed whistle. "Dude, can I use that thing? Bet I can scare so many girls with that," he asked Jackie. "No, this mask is not for sale," Jackie said as he kept it out of Uriah's reach. "Aw man," Kurt and Clubber complained. "Uriah, would please move out of the way." Cornelia stepped forward with an irritated look on her face. "We got bigger things to worry about than some losers like you." She pushed them aside as the group continued on their way. "Dude, what's going on? Why are they acting so adult-y?" Kurt wondered. "Don't know dude," Clubber replied while Uriah scowled. "Oh, I'm gonna get those girls if it's the last thing I do." Uncle's rare finds. Grandma. Uncle. We're back. Lynn beamed as she and everyone else entered the Chan's family shop. And this time, the mask did not end up on anyone's face. Jackie said with a relieved smile. "That's good to hear." Yan Lin smiled with a nod before she took a whiff of the air. "Oh, who smells like raw fish?" "That would be us," Alchemy said with a sulk, referring to herself, Cornelia, and Toru. "And it is also the reason I am now going to take a nice long hot bath," Toru said as he proceeded to walk upstairs, only for Uncle to deliver a dope slap to his forehead. "Ow. No time for rest, Toru," Uncle told him as he handed him a certain book. Uncle has located Japanese Encyclopedia of Evil. "Where the heck did he find that?" Irma questioned. "I actually found it on sale on Amazon," Yan Lin answered, much to everyone's surprise. "You'd be shocked to know just what kind of things they sell online." "Good to know," Will said with a slight nod. "Toru, you must research way to defeat Tarakudo, and put end to Oni Mask Quest," Uncle told his apprentice. "Yes, sensei." Toru took the book and began to walk to the back room. "One more thing." Uncle got his attention again as he handed him a broom. "Do not forget to sweep." "Yes, sensei." Toru took the broom as well while Jackie, Caleb, all the girls, and Yan Lin looked with concern, or annoyance in the case of Cornelia, as they saw this exchange take place. "One more thing." Uncle handed him a plunger. "Sink is clogged. Please plunge." "Yes, sensei." "One more thing." "Pu. Rotten fish. Take a bath." "What did you think he was gonna do?" Caleb thought in annoyance. "Geez, cut the guy a break will ya?" Irma thought to herself. "Poor Toru. The big guy tries his hardest." Lin thought with sympathy. "Toru's got the patience of a saint if he's gotta put up with all that." Terani also thought. "I'd probably snap after the third, one more thing, if I were him." Cornelia gave a slight scowl in Uncle's direction, completely unaware of the glare Toru had with his back turned to everyone. "One more thing," Uncle began. "No more things," Toru suddenly shouted, dropping everything in his arms and facing Uncle with a look of rage, causing everyone to look in shock at Toru's sudden outburst. "Whoa," Will muttered. "Did he just?" Jade voiced. "Yep," Caleb nodded. However, none were more shocked than Uncle. "You disrespect Uncle." He then glared at his apprentice. "Uncle took you in, put roof over your head, put food in your belly, lots of food. And this is how you repay me. I cook, I clean, I travel across this world and into other worlds to fight monsters, wizards, demons, and get smothered in fish." Toru exclaimed back. "And you thank me by demanding many more things. I will never speak to you again." They both shouted to each other before turning their backs on the other with crossed arms and scowls. "Dang, didn't see that coming," Irma commented. "Good for Toru." Cornelia smirked. "Now if we can all follow his example about not talking to that old man." Only to get elbowed in the side by Jade. "Ow, what?" Jackie quickly tried to diffuse the tension between the pair. "Oh, come on, now. You two are like family. You have so much to talk about." "Yeah, like maybe we can all talk about why our new friend has his own chapter in Japanese Evilpedia," Terani suggested as she held up the book Toru previously dropped, showing an illustration of a demon with the face of the very same mask they had just obtained. Despite the tension, the group quickly gathered around the counter as Toru read them the contents of this chapter, while Yan Lin had also helped to provide each of them a bowl of instant ramen for dinner. And he was known as Ikazuki, the most fearsome of the Oni generals. Toru read the section before slurping at his food. Jackie, please tell Toru to refrain from making slurping sounds. Uncle told his nephew, still refusing to talk to his apprentice directly. Uncle said. Hey Lin, please tell Sensei that I will eat my dinner however I please. Toru told Hey Lin in a similar manner as he continued to slurp. Hey Lin felt more than a little awkward. Please ask Toru if he would like piece of uncle for dessert. Uncle scowled, talking to Cornelia specifically. Why are you yelling at me? Cornelia exclaimed as Toru and uncle gave each other the stink eye, which Yan Lin promptly broke up. Toru, Jin says you are doing an excellent job. Please keep reading, the elderly woman said in a soothing tone, breaking up any possible confrontation. Despite that, Toru did just that as he continued to read the chapter for the rest of the group. A natural leader, Ikazuki was second in command to the Lord of all Oni, Tarakudo, King of the Shotokan. And, what else does it say? Will asked. Nothing more. The chapter ends there. Toru replied. It doesn't say anything about his Shotokan. Alchemy asked. There are no details, but it says that the tribe he commanded was the most dangerous of the Shotokan. Toru answered. Really? Terani questioned. We had Shotokan that could fly, slice through solid steel, and even bulldoze their way through buildings. And you're saying they're not even the worst. That's actually terrifying to think about. Irma said with a gulp. Well, it's a good thing we got this mask before one of the bad guys could put it on. Hey Lin quickly said. Caleb began to think. If this Ikazuki was Tarakudo's right hand, it would mean he has to know some secrets that the other Oni generals don't. Like maybe a possible weakness, a way we can take down Tarakudo once and for all. Perhaps, Jackie replied, but I do not think that it is possible to interrogate a mask, Caleb. Jade suddenly snapped her fingers. I got an idea. Section 13. The group, minus Yan Lin who decided to remain at the shop, were now inside the talisman vault as Jade pulled the rat talisman from its pedestal. If you want to talk to an inanimate mask, try the talisman that brings motion to the motionless. Jade stated. Wow, great idea Jade. Hey Lin smiled. Really? Cornelia looked skeptical. We're using a talisman that was once used by an evil demon to bring back to life another evil demon. Yeah, is this really a good idea, Jackie? Will asked. Probably not, but it's the best one we have at the moment. Jackie said with reluctance. Jade placed the rat talisman on the mask's forehead, the mask itself placed on a pedestal of its own, causing the talisman to melt into it before the mask itself shinned and came to life. Ikazuki lives, the Oni general announced. Bow before my mighty form and, he quickly looked around and realized he had no body whatsoever. Where is my mighty form? He then spotted the group of heroes before growling. Insolent humans, you shall pay for your trickery, at the hands of my Shotokan. As Ikazuki attempted to summon his minions, the heroes took combative stances, prepared for anything as Caleb kept a firm grip on his katana, with Will already holding out the heart of Kandrakar, ready to say the magic words. However, there didn't seem to be a need as no Shotokan appeared before them. Ikazuki himself looked stunned for a moment before trying to start again. At the hands of my Shotokan. Yet again, no Shotokan arrived, causing the Oni to look confused and annoyed. They're not coming. Alchemy looked around in confusion. Irma smirked. Looks like his pals are on vacation. The masks may only summon Shotokan if they are whole, attached to a human host. Toru explained. That's a relief. Will breathed a huge sigh along with Jackie. Jade, please tell Toru not to state obvious. Uncle stated. Uncle says. Duh. Jade translated. If he can't call for reinforcements, it means we have all day to make him tell us everything he knows. Caleb smirked as he was the first to address Ikazuki. So, start talking demon. Tell us how to defeat Tarakudo right now. I shall devour your brain. Ikazuki exclaimed in defiance. With what? Jade asked in a mocking tone. You got no hands to grab us, you're just a tiny little mask. She poked at his cheeks, teasingly, only for Ikazuki to snap his teeth at her, almost chomping off her hand had Jade not pulled it back right away. Okay, but you do have razor-sharp teeth. So, how are we gonna do this? Terani asked. We've never really interrogated anybody before. Let's do it good cop, bad cop style. Lin suggested as she and Alchemy approached him first with a pleasing demeanor. Hello Mr. Ikazuki, you look pretty good. If you tell us how to take down your boss, we'll make it worth your while. You say you want brains. Alchemy offered. We can't get you actual brains, but Halloween is next week, and we can get you candy that's shaped like brains. Either that or we could do this hard way. Cornelia stepped up with Irma, both taking the role of bad cop. Irma and I here both got a little sister or brother that are total brats. And they just love arts and crafts projects. Irma added. So, unless you wanna have your mug redecorated with macaroni noodles, glue, and stickers, I suggest you start giving us something useful. Your threats do not interest me. Ikazuki said, unfazed by their interrogation tactics. But he does. He paid a glance at Toru. Me. Toru stuttered in surprise. With my magnificent face atop your mighty form, we would be unstoppable. Ikazuki declared, causing Toru to gulp as his fear of Oni began to take hold, but Will was quick to step up to the sentient mask with a glare. The big guy is off limits. So, I'm only gonna say this once, you half-baked arts and crafts project. Tell us how to take down Tarakudo, or it's straight to the furnace for you. Ikazuki glared back. Foolish child, I have faced warriors the likes of which could only be found in your legends. A little girl does not frighten me. Well, these little girls have kicked monster butt before. Jade said, referring to herself and her friends. Plus, you don't even have a butt, so quit the macho act and start singing before we make you. Ikazuki growled as he glanced at Toru to speak to him directly again. This world must have undergone quite the change if children are willing to fight and grown men shiver like rodents. Perhaps I can help you with that fear that is clearly visible in your eyes, giant. Toru gulped. No. But I do not want Alchemy, please tell Toru to stop quivering like frightened chihuahua. Uncle scolded, annoyed with Toru's behavior. Please tell the scowling billy goat that I am not frightened. Toru glared directly at Uncle. Guys, we got a freaking demon here. Do we have to argue about this right now? Irma tried to break it up. However, neither Toru nor Uncle seemed keen on breaking it up as they began to circle each other, with Toru's back passing behind the pedestal. Please tell Toru we'll give him something to be frightened about. Uncle glared. Please tell Sensei that I would like to see him try. Toru challenged. However, Jackie, Caleb, and the girls got in between and tried to pull the arguing pair away from each other. That is enough. Jackie told them. We should not be arguing with each other. We should be questioning the mask. What mask? Cornelia said with a gulp as she was the first to see that Ikazuki had vanished, much to everyone's horror. Aiya! Uncle exclaimed. What? Caleb shouted. It is gone. Toru also exclaimed. Where'd he go? Will almost screamed. He was right here. He is only a mask. Jackie stated in surprise. He did not just get up and walk away. The group directed their attention to the vault door they had left open upon entering. Did he? Jade asked with a gulp. Yeah, we probably should have closed that when we came in here. Alchemy gulped. The group quickly made their way outside the vault, with Toru being the last one out, where nobody could see Ikazuki's mask form hanging off the back of his overalls via his teeth. Once the group made their way to Section 13's main room, they began to look under every desk, every corner, every nook and cranny, any place that could hide a small mask. Hello, Mr. Oni. Lin called out. How could he even get out? He didn't have any legs or wings or anything. Terani questioned, not noticing that Ikazuki had silently swung himself from Toru to a random agent passing by. Does the rat talisman let you do that? Irma asked. No, it only enables statues to come to life. It does not grow artificial limbs or anything. Toru answered as the agent Ikazuki caught a ride-on walk toward the elevator leading to the exit. If Ikazuki gets loose, he could wind up on someone's face. Jackie said with fear already begging to set in for the whole group. And be able to summon his Shotokan. Will voiced with dread. The most dangerous tribe of all. Jade said in an equally dreadful tone, not noticing that Ikazuki had already managed to exit the facility. Meridian, Phobos Castle. You've lost yet another mask. Phobos shouted as he stood from his throne to glare at the bowing villains including Cedric, Wong, Miranda, and even Finn, Ratso and Chow. And even worse, none of you were even able to put it on before Chan and the Guardians took it. Hey, I was gonna. Until this brat here swiped it. Chow said, putting the blame on Miranda. I think our prince would prefer the mask to be wielded by someone competent. Miranda argued. Phobos practically gnashed his teeth at this bickering and was more than willing to lash out at them just to cease the arguing. However, Tarakudo emerged from the walls to bring it all to a halt. Perhaps you can all channel that frustration into something more productive, Tarakudo offered, because I sense that the mask is again within our reach. You're certain of this? Phobos questioned the Oni King. 100%, Tarakudo confirmed. I don't care how you do it. Phobos faced his minions again. I don't care which of you wears it. I don't even care if it ends up on somebody else entirely. Bring me that mask. Earth, Heatherfield. Ikazuki had hopped from the agent to the back shirt of a random stranger that had passed by an alleyway when the living mask spotted a certain trio of teenage punks that were walking out from the alleyway. Those stupid girls, Uriah grumbled. Why are they acting all adulty and stuff? They should be screaming like girls when we scare them. Well, they hang out with some grown-ups. Kurt said. Maybe they just think they're grown-ups. Clubber also said, but he quickly noticed something had leapt onto his right pant leg. Hey guys, something's on my pants. He pulled it off to show it to Uriah and Kurt. Hey, isn't that the mask thing those girls and their grown-up friends had? Kurt asked. One of you place me upon your face. Ikazuki demanded. Now. All three boys screamed as Clubber threw the mask away. That mask just talked. Clubber screamed, the mask landing on its face just outside the entrance of the alleyway. Let's get out of here. Uriah exclaimed as they were about to run out, only to literally run into the group consisting of Cedric, Miranda, Wong, Finn, Ratso, and Chow, the shapeshifters in their human form again. Hey, watch where you guys are going. Finn stated as the punks were shoved. Nah, you watch where you're going. Uriah replied back. What is this? Cedric questioned as he and the rest of his cohort stood up. Dude, why are you guys orange? Kurt questioned the Dark Kai enforcers. And what's with the fancy get-up? Clubber asked, referring to Cedric, Wong, and Miranda's attire. Only girls play dress up and wear makeup. Yeah, Halloween's next week, losers. Uriah taunted as he held up an L on his forehead. Don't have time for this. Miranda muttered, none of them noticing the Ikazuki mask was right there in the alleyway, with Ikazuki attempting to push himself up from the ground with his tongue. Be gone, children. We will not entertain these games. Wong stated as they proceeded to walk away. Yeah, get lost punks. Chow added as he pushed Uriah back, with the bully landing on his rear, which just so happened to land on Ikazuki himself. Oh yeah, why don't? Suddenly Uriah felt a tight pain squeeze around his rear, causing him to scream as he leapt to his feet where his gang, as well as the Dark Kai enforcers, Wong, Cedric, and Miranda turned around in shock to see Uriah's rear glowing as a certain mask melded with that part of his body. Ikazuki lives. Bow before my mighty form. The Oni general proclaimed as he was now attached to Uriah's butt. Ah, Uriah's butt is talking. Kurt and Clubber both screamed as they ran for their lives. Wait, don't leave me here, Uriah called to his gang as he glanced behind toward a window to see the talking mask on his butt. No, this isn't happening, this isn't happening. Finn, Cedric, Ratso, Wong, Chow, and even Miranda looked nothing short of perplexed at this situation as well. Eyebrows cocked and jaws almost unhinging as none of them saw this coming. No way I'm bowing to some kid's butt. Ratso commented. Meanwhile, the sun had already set as the group of heroes began to search the streets of Heatherfield. They looked all over Section 13, but they couldn't find any sign of Ikazuki, so the only logical place to look was outside. Ikazuki could be anywhere in the city. It's like trying to find a needle in the haystack, Terani stated. So, let's just go back to the shop and use the Hanafuda cards to find him again, right? Caleb asked. Wrong, Uncle replied. Hanafuda cards work only once per mask. After mask is found, cards are wiped clean. Well, that's stupid, Irma said. How are we gonna find the mask if we can't use the cards? Please tell Sensei that we should conjure a locator spell, Toru suggested, while still not talking to Uncle directly, who crossed his arms as he looked away. One of you, please tell Toru that proper locator spell will take too long to make. Uncle said before his eyes briefly widened. Not that I could hear him. Oh, for the love of, you guys are still arguing. Cornelia exclaimed. Alright, that's it. Will stated. This is both your faults. The mask got away because you two were too busy arguing with each other. If we keep this up, that mask is gonna end up on someone's face. Will is correct. Jackie agreed. For whatever reason you two are arguing, it doesn't matter in a crisis like this. So, both of you either buck up or shut up so we can find the stupid thing. Jade added. Uncle, realizing that they weren't getting anywhere by arguing, tried to search his person, but couldn't find what he was looking for. Tell ex-apprentice, he did not give Uncle mask removal potion. Please tell Sensei, that his ex-apprentice, has it covered. Toru had produced a vial of the potion he already made from his pocket. You made a potion already, even though nobody wore the mask? Caleb asked. Never take any chances when it comes to the Oni. Toru said. Way to think ahead, big guy. Alchemy gave a playful nudge with her elbow and an approved smile. Meanwhile, the villains had moved deeper into the same alleyway they had found the mask, and its current host, in order to avoid drawing attention as Uriah tried to pull Ikazuki from his rear. Prince Phobos said he did not care how the mask was retrieved, or even if ended up on somebody else, Cedric said. But I do not think this is what he had in mind. Miranda finished, sounding just as perplexed as her fellow shapeshifter. At least we found it. Finn commented. Sure glad that's not my ass he's stuck to. Remove your hands from my face. Ikazuki ordered as Uriah still tried to pull him off. Remove your face from my butt. Uriah argued back. A kid, I don't think he's gonna let go. Ratso said, trying to sound as sympathetic as possible. Well, if one of you freaks has an idea to get your buddy off, go right ahead. Uriah shouted. Actually, we do. Chow said in realization. You need one of those mask removal potions. He then turned to Wong. Can't you whip something up? Unfortunately, no. Wong replied. Even if I knew the necessary ingredients to produce a spell, it requires the use of good Kai to fully empower the potion. And as the most malevolent of Dark Chi Master, I lack the good Kai necessary to produce a proper removal spell. In that case, Ikazuki said as he began to concentrate, causing all the shadows in the area to move around them. The shadows then solidified as a new breed of Shotokan emerged. They were clad in dark blue, almost black, armor resembling samurais and had red V-shaped visors for eyes. One of these Shotokan had picked up the frightened Uriah's body and held him over his shoulder to give Ikazuki a better means to stand up fully. I will have to make do for the time being. This is dream. This is a dream. This is a dream. This just a dream. Uriah muttered to himself. My butt isn't talking. And I'm not surrounded by a bunch of armored monster guys. Yeah, I'm asleep at home. He tried to delude himself into thinking this was all just a dream. At the same time, Uncle and Toru had managed to each brew their own separate locator spells. Though not considered proper, it would at least point them in the general direction, and that was better than nothing as the two Kai wizards led the rest of the heroes down the street. Lizard says the mask is this way. Uncle pointed his dry lizard in one direction. However, Toru, who was currently using a blowfish, found himself pointing in a separate direction. Blowfish says the mask is that way. Uncle then directed his attention toward the others. Please tell Toru that Uncle's lizard has seniority over his blowfish. Everyone groaned in annoyance. I give up. Jackie muttered. My friends and I get into arguments all the time, but we at least know to put it aside when we're on a mission. Caleb said. This is getting ridiculous. If you can make them stop, then go for it. Cornelia told him. We're all getting sick of this. Suddenly, Toru felt a chill down his spine. Please tell Sensei, I have the willies. That got everyone's attention as Terani found herself looking in a certain direction. Probably because of them, the group saw where she was pointing, revealing to be two samurai-esque Shotokan standing guard by an alleyway. Shotokan, Jade muttered. So much for it not ending up on anybody's face. Alchemy said as Will took out the heart of Kandrakar. Guardians unite. Tarakudo emerged from the wall to greet his second in command, but was not expecting him to be in this state, attached to teenage boy's rear end. General Ikazuki. How good to see you, you're looking rather heinous. Tarakudo couldn't find the right words to address the situation. "Oh, hey, you're a friend of my talking ass?" Uriah asked in a seemingly pleasant tone. "Well, could you do me a favor and get him the hell off me?" he shouted. "Pipe down, Lord," Ikazuki told him. "Indeed, Lord Tarakudo. I must seek a more suitable host." Everyone heard a powerful yell as they all directed their attention to Toru, who had just thrown away 2 Shotokan with his bare hands. "It would seem my search is already over." Jackie, the Guardians, Caleb, Uncle, and Alchemy also joined the fray, only for them to gasp at who and what Ikazuki was attached to. "Ah, hey girls." Uriah waved nervously. "Kinda in trouble here." "Oh, my God," Terani muttered. Jackie gasped as Haylin covered her mouth in shock, with Caleb stuttering in disbelief. "How? What does, why?" "Iya," Uncle said in a startled gasp. I'm blind. Cornelia tried to cover her eyes. "That is, wrong on so many levels." Will winced. "I have no comment to give," Alchemy said with a blank look on her face. Suddenly, Jade and Irma both burst out laughing uncontrollably, with the former holding her stomach, and the later trying to support herself by holding onto Jade's arm. Hey, look," Irma stuttered in between laughs. "It's the demon from planet Uranus," she said in a hysterical laugh. "Want us to kick his butt?" Jade also laughed. "Does that mean Uriah's face?" She was almost crying with laughter alongside Irma. Even Finn, Ratso, and Chow found themselves laughing. "Okay, that's a good one," Chow commented. "Again, super glad it's not me." Finn laughed. "Hey if the kid's gotta go to the bathroom, does it come out of the other guy's mouth?" Ratso asked, which only caused Finn, Chow, Jade, and Irma to laugh harder. However, Ikazuki was far from amused as he growled with rage. "Enough of this. Shotokan, attack. Incoming." Will warned as all the Shotokan rushed to their enemies at insane speeds. Toru tried to bring up a trash can as a weapon, but one Shotokan had took out a black-colored katana to slice through the trash can clean in half. "Shadow swords," Jade muttered before dodging one slice. "Okay, not laughing anymore," she stated before flying up to gain some distance. Quickly getting serious, the heroes attempted to defend themselves. Will ducked and dodged the slice from one samurai Shotokan. She tried to brandish a trash can lid as a makeshift shield, only for the lid to be sliced into tiny pieces with little effort. The Shotokan would have brought his blade down on her had Jackie not come in to deliver a flying roundhouse to knock the Shotokan back and destroy it once it was sent flying to the wall. Terani tried to erect a wall of fire to encircle around Cedric, who had quickly transformed into his larger beast form, as well as 3 other Shotokan samurai, but they each had drawn their own shadow swords to actually cut through the blaze and escape, much to Terani's shock as she tried to shoot several fireballs at them, but the Shotokan sliced through them easily enough with their weapons. Caleb had ducked under the swing of one enemy to plunge his own katana into its stomach area, causing the samurai Shotokan to vanish, but 2 tried to ambush from behind. However, a rock wall emerged from the ground in between to separate the Caleb from the deadly adversaries, courtesy of Cornelia. However, their respite was cut short as the enemy's shadow blades cut through the earth like butter. "Geez, just how sharp are those things?" Cornelia questioned as she threw a series of rocks at them, but they were quickly cut down all the same. "These samurai Khan are definitely worse than those other Shotokan we've fought," Haylin commented as she flew beside Irma to square off against 4 of their newfound enemy. "Samurai Khan?" Irma questioned. "Well, they look like samurais," Haylin pointed out. "Great, so now that you're done naming, how about actually fighting them?" Irma exclaimed as she and Haylin tried to combine their powers to send a surging vortex of water and wind, almost like a storm, at the quartet of Samurai Khan. The front 2 were quickly destroyed, but the back 2 had leapt into the air to draw their shadow swords and slice at the attack right where Irma and Haylin's hands were, which they pulled back just in time, else their own hands get sliced off as well. Tarakudo continued watched as he saw while the Guardians and their friends were having trouble against the strongest of the Shotokan tribes, they were still able to hold their ground. He was both impressed and frustrated at the same time. "Yoo-hoo, Mr. Oni King," Alchemy called out as she held a half-rotten onion. "Look what I found in the trash." "No. Anything but onions," Tarakudo shouted in despair, only for Alchemy to throw the rotten onion at him anyways, causing the usual amount of pain one would expect from an onion making contact with an oni. Ah, my eyes, my eyes. He retreated, fading away through the walls. Jade threw out a wall of fluent shadow magic in front of her against the slash of one samurai Khan's sword, but to her surprise, her own shield wasn't even scratched. Shadows can't slice through other shadows, huh? Jade said before smirking as she blew away her shield before coating her hands in shadows to clap the shadow sword that the samurai Khan lashed out at her, before Jade pulled back her feet to kick him down. At the same time, Uncle was locked in another wizard battle against Daolan Wang, the former using his dried lizard to shoot a beam of good Kai magic, while the dark wizard used his scepter to blast his own dark Kai, both bolts meeting in the center. Meanwhile, Toru had thrown a samurai Khan to the ground as he came back to back with his teacher. Uncle and Toru made brief eye contact before stubbornly looking away to resume their own fights without helping the other. Those girls and their friends have superpowers. Uriah looked in shock. No, wait, that's right. I'm dreaming. Just a total dream. Ikazuki rolled his eyes at his host's demeanor, as he couldn't wait to finally be rid of him. Take the giant. He ordered 2 samurai Khan as well as Miranda, turning his own strength to ours, while also depriving the guardians of yet another friend. Lovely. Miranda sneered as she crawled up on the walls while Toru continued to hold back against the samurai Khan. Uncle quickly noticed Miranda on the wall behind Toru before turning toward the only non-guardian girl present. Alchemy, tell Toru to look out behind. But it was too late, Miranda had already shot a great deal amount of webbing to ensnare Toru. Though he would normally be able to break out of it easily enough, it left him vulnerable for several samurai Khan to surround and grab him before dissolving into a puddle of liquid shadow, pulling Toru in. No, Aiya! Toru shouted in distress as he was completely submerged. Toru! All the guardians, Jackie, Alchemy, and Caleb all shouted in shock at seeing him vanish. The giant will make a most suitable host. Ikazuki smirked. Looks like my dream is about to turn into a good one. Uriah thought to himself before he felt a familiar sensation in his rear. Hey, can this dream have a bathroom? With their mission complete, the samurai Khan all threw down a series of smoke bombs to engulf themselves, Ikazuki with Uriah, along with Cedric, Wang, Miranda, Finn, Ratso, and Chao, causing them all to vanish, leaving the shocked heroes as they, especially Uncle, could only look in horror as dread filled each of their bodies. Uncle's rare finds. Ow. Uncle slapped himself yet again after looking through his cupboard for the scroll necessary. Ow. He slapped himself once more after failing to find it. Ow. He gave himself yet another slap. Here, let me help. Cornelia said as she herself dope slapped Uncle. Ow. Please, that is enough. Jackie held Cornelia's hand by the wrist. No, Uncle has it coming. Uncle insisted before slapping himself again. Ow. Uncle had opportunity to warn Toru. But did he? No. All because of silly argument. Now my apprentice is in danger of becoming demon. He slapped himself again. Ow. One more thing, Toru was right. Uncle says, one more thing, too often. You're only realizing that now. Cornelia grumbled. Jackie, Caleb, and the other girls looked towards each other, hoping to say something, but it seemed Yan Lin beat them to it. All right, Jin. Yes, you made a mistake. Yan Lin began. But instead of belittling yourself, you must find a way to make amends. Remember, all the mistakes we've made, you, myself, Halinor, Kadma, Cassidy, even, Nerissa, she stuttered with that last part. When we make a mistake, yes we must acknowledge it, but it is also equally important that we find a way to rectify it. And that is what you must do now. Uncle had a sad expression on his face. Kadma was one who didn't admit mistakes. But you have before, and you will do so again. Yan Lin placed a hand on his shoulder. Whatever argument you've had with Toru before no longer matters. He needs you now more than ever, and I know you have the power to help him. Uncle looked with an emotional expression as everyone else began to pitch in. Yeah, come on, you're a badass Kai wizard. If anyone can find the big guy, it's you. Irma said. We'll help you get our boy back. Will said. So, let's get to work. We don't have a need to worry. Jackie told the group. Ikazuki cannot remove himself from Uriah without the mask removal potion. And that is safe and sound. Terani winced. In Toru's pocket. Everyone else palled. realizing what that meant. Bad day. Hey Lin muttered. Fortunately, Uncle had found the scroll that he had been looking for. We must find Toru, before Ikazuki finds potion and places himself on Toru's face. Let's hope they at least wash him first. Alchemy tried to put in some humor. Could buy us some time. And how are we supposed to find Toru if he got sucked into the shadows? Caleb questioned. With Jade. Uncle responded, much to everyone's surprise, especially the aforementioned girl. Huh, me. Yes, you. Uncle confirmed as he rolled out the scroll to show an illustration of the Shadow Realm. Shadokan and Oni travel through the Shadow Realm. You are Shadow Guardian. You have shadow powers. You, like Oni and Shadokan, can travel through shadow and find Toru. Jade looked to her own hands somewhat nervously before a determined expression formed on her face. She might be nervous about entering the Shadow Realm, the memories of her as the queen of the Shadokan still lingering, but right now, finding Toru took priority and she will rescue him no matter what. Tell me what to do. Toru was being held in a random warehouse, his hands tied with shadow bindings behind a pillar as he was being interrogated by Ikazuki with Cedric, Miranda, Daolon Wang, and the Dark Kai enforcers around them. They tell me you are a conjurer of good magic. The Oni general stated. They tell me you are the maker of mask removal potions. So, provide me with the potion I require. Your breath smells like unwashed underwear. Toru said defiantly. Hey, let me give it a shot. Uriah said as the samurai Khan carrying him turned him around for Uriah to face Toru. Hey, you're friends with those girls, right? Well, I'm friends with them too. And I know it's all dream and all, but could a friend of a friend help another friend of a friend out and get this talking mask off my butt? Pretty please. He was turned around as Ikazuki took control again. The potion, or I shall feast upon your brains. Ooh, the old good cop, bad cop. Ratso observed. Are we really willing to do this again? Cedric questioned, attempting to corrupt yet another ally of the Guardians, after the last 3 failures. This time is different, Wang stated. We are in a location far from the Guardians' home, they are unable to track us here. The second the mask is placed on his face, we will leave for Meridian. Hopefully, this time we'll have a permanent ally as the Guardians lose one. For good, Miranda stated, wanting to make them suffer emotionally. A more strategic option would be to place the mask on one of our faces. Cedric said, perhaps mine. Dude, you really want that on your face after where it's been? Finn questioned. Come on big guy. Uriah pleaded with Toru. I really need to use the nearest dream bathroom. Now it was Ikazuki's turn again. Insolent slug. I command you to produce the... He pressed Uriah's feet against Toru's face, forcing Toru's body back slightly and also causing the potion to slip from his pocket and out into the open. Potion. Ikazuki sneered as Toru only groaned. Okay, so how's this work again? Will asked as she and the rest of her team were already in their respective guardian forms as they, Jackie, Uncle, Yanlin, Caleb, and Alchemy all stood around Jade who sat in a meditative line stance in the middle of the floor. We use locator spell with Toru's hair, while Jade opens portal to Shadow Realm. Uncle explained. Once there, locator spell will take us directly to Toru. Uncle then placed Toru's hair in the vial of green liquid, completing the spell. He never did unclog sink. Uncle, are you sure this is the only way? Jackie asked, wanting to make absolutely certain. This is only way to find Toru before Ikazuki is placed on his face. Uncle confirmed as he poured the locator spell into Jade's hands as she immediately began to channel her shadow magic into them, causing her hands to glow between a shifting green and black, the magics mixing together. With a sigh, Jade got to work. Here's go nothing. Channeling the power into the ground below her, Jade had created a portal into the Shadow Realm. Once it was created, Jackie, and Uncle each placed one of their hands on Jade's person, with Yanlin and Terani doing the same for Uncle. Cornelia, Caleb, and Irma placed their hands on Jackie, and finally Haylin and Alchemy placed their hands on Will. Suddenly, the portal generated a pulling force that had pulled Jade directly into the portal, with Will, Jackie, and Uncle right behind her, right before the rest of their friends were all pulled in. Everyone screamed as Jade felt the locator spell pull her, and by extension, everyone else hanging onto her, through the Shadow Realm into wherever Toru was being kept. Ratso had the mask removal potion poured onto his hands, causing them to glow green. Remove the wart from me and place my glorious face upon the giant's mighty form. Ikazuki demanded. Yes. Finally, my dream turns good. Uriah exclaimed with a grin, in complete contradiction with the look of terror on Toru's face. No. Anything but Oni. Cedric, Wong, and Miranda looked in joyous anticipation, especially Ikazuki as Ratso reached toward him. However, he also realized that his hands would also be coming into contact with the rear of a miner, and that made him cringe as he pulled his hands back, much to Ikazuki's irritation. Well, what are you waiting for? Okay, first you guys have a search through a little girl's bedroom, now you want me to touch a kid's butt. Ratso questioned to not only the Oni general, but also the pair of shapeshifters and evil wizard. Seriously, what is wrong with you people? Insect. You will do as instructed. Cedric hissed. Remove the mask, or I will personally send you into oblivion. Wong also exclaimed. Seriously, dream or not, just get this dang guy off my butt. Even Uriah himself agreed. Okay, Ratso stated before turning to his friends. But we are never going to bring this up again, especially around Elion. Agreed. Finn nodded. I'm not even here, Chow said, looking away. However, before Ratso could reach out, a large dark portal opened up from the ceiling as the Guardians, Chan Clan, along with Caleb, Yan Lin, and Alchemy all fell out before landing on the ground, much to the villains' surprise. But Ikazuki was the first to get over his surprise. Attack, he ordered, causing at least 24 Samurai Khan to emerge from the shadows of the warehouse and attack the group of heroes. Immediately, Jackie, Caleb, and the Guardians fought back against the legion of Samurai Khan. Toru, Uncle ran to his apprentice, with Yan Lin and Alchemy right behind him. Sensei. Toru was just as relieved to see him as Uncle used his Kai magic to free him from his shadow bonds. I'm glad you two are talking again, but save it for later. Yan Lin pointed to the incoming Cedric, Wong, and Miranda, prompting the quartet to stand up as Uncle tossed Yan Lin an extra blowfish before they engaged the enemy. Jackie had used his hands to block and parry against the wrists of the trio of Samurai Khan surrounding him, in order to avoid touching the shadow swords they wielded and risk of losing a limb. He ducked under a series of slices to deliver a sweeping roundhouse to knock all three of them off their feet before leaping up to land his feet onto the face of one and destroy it. But before the other two could get up, they were blasted in the back by a series of fireballs, courtesy of Terani. Toru, where is the potion? Jackie tried to call to him. Jackie. Terani pointed to Ratso, who still held the potion glowing in his hands. Here goes nothing. Ratso was about to pry the mask off Uriah's rear, only for Ikazuki to kick him back with Uriah's feet. Not now, fool. Ikazuki exclaimed as the Samurai Khan grabbed him, as well as Finn and Chow to make sure they wouldn't interfere. I would lose control of my Shotokan for the brief duration my face is between hosts. Caleb ran on an upper level of the building with a pair of Samurai Khan chasing after him. As much as he wanted to clash his own katana against theirs, he knew how the shadow swords could slice through virtually everything else like butter and didn't want to take a chance. So, once he made some distance, he spotted a hanging hook near the edge before jumping and catching it, using it to swing into a trio of Samurai Khan that appeared to have Cornelia cornered, which he knocked down with his feet, swinging with enough force to obliterate them. I got your back, Caleb said to Cornelia, who briefly turned around to see the same two Samurai Khan that had previously chased Caleb, jump off the edge to continue their pursuit. But Cornelia had quickly pulled two large rocks from the ground and shot them at the Samurai Khan before they could even land, destroying them in the process. And I got yours, Cornelia said with a smirk. Will had also found herself backed toward a wall as two Samurai Khan attempted to slice at her, but like Jackie, Will had struck the arms and wrists of the Samurai Khan to parry their strikes without coming into contact with their blades. Suddenly, two shadow blades had pierced through the chests of both Samurai Khan, causing them to vanish and reveal Jade with a dual set of shadow katanas of her own. Yeah, that's right. I've got shadow swords too. Jade spun her new weapons around like a master before flying to meet another group, with Will flying to provide her backup. Meanwhile, Toru continued to wrestle against Cedric, grabbing against the lower body of the humanoid serpent, with Cedric trying to wrestle him off while Uncle was in yet another wizard's duel against Daolon Wong. Toru and Uncle made eye contact, while also noticing a pair of samurai cons suddenly appear behind both of them. Toru, behind you. Uncle warned. Sensei, watch out. Toru also warned as they quickly parted from their respective foes, rushing past each other with Uncle shooting a Kai blast to obliterate one samurai con, while Toru used his own strength to punch and send the other one flying. But Toru wasn't done yet as he quickly grabbed the surprised Daolon Wang and threw him with enough strength to send him flying and crashing into a wall while Uncle aimed his dried lizard to blast a stun spell directly into Cedric's eyes, causing him to roar as he was blinded, leaving him open for Uncle to leap up and deliver a flying kick to the face, knocking him down. Alchemy suddenly found herself webbed to a pillar as Miranda loomed closer toward her. "Ah, aren't you just cute when you're helpless like that?" Miranda mocked. "Don't worry, I promise to make it quick, ah." She screamed in pain as she felt multiple burning sensations at her back, courtesy of Yan Lin with a Kai magic blowfish in her hands. "Pick on someone your own size." Yan Lin glared before blasting Miranda again with another Kai blast to send her flying back before helping to free Alchemy. "Thanks. Did I mention I hate spiders?" Alchemy asked almost jokingly. "You and everyone else on Earth." Yan Lin replied in a similarly humorous fashion. "Guys, don't attack them directly." Terani called out to the rest of her friends. "Try and trip them up." She placed her hands on the floor to channel her fire magic through the ground before sending up a large pillar of fire to engulf 3 samurai con at once. "Right, so their swords can't slice through our attacks." Heilin realized as she spun her body around, generating a vortex that began to suck in 5 samurai con that were closest to her before she finally released and sent them flying and crashing onto the walls throughout the warehouse. Irma followed a similar tactic to Terani's as she sprayed the floor down with water below a group of 4 samurai con before channeling the water to attack from behind, stabbing each one in the back with a water tentacle to destroy them. However, Irma noticed a certain enemy running trying to get the drop on her leader. "Will, watch your behind behind you." Will turned around just in time to see the samurai con carrying Ikazuki and Uriah attempting to rush her with its own shadow sword. But Will flew above the slice before grabbing at the spikes on the helmet of the samurai con to flip him up and over her hovering form and into a group of 3 samurai con, also knocking down Uriah's body, which Ikazuki quickly took control over. The Oni general stood up, using Uriah's hands as feet to face Will directly, consequently, having her come face to face with Uriah's demonic butt as Ikazuki made the gesture to bring it on with Uriah's foot. Will cringed in disgust as she held up her fists defensively. "This is so wrong." Ikazuki lashed out with punches of Uriah's feet, which Will tried to parry with her own hands. But Ikazuki reached out with Uriah's actual hands to try and grab one of her legs, but Will flew straight up to avoid it, forcing Ikazuki to jump up in pursuit, but Will used this to her advantage as she delivered a punch to Uriah's stomach, sending him falling toward the ground and landing on his rear, and consequently, Ikazuki's face. However, Will looked down to see that many of her friends were still having a great deal of trouble against the growing number of samurai con, as well as the recovering Cedric, Wang, and Miranda, and flew down to help them. With Ikazuki dizzy from the impact, Uriah realized he quickly had control of his own body again. He then noticed Ratso's hands were still glowing as he got an idea. Time for the real hero of this dream to go to work. He quickly ran to Ratso, who was still being held by a samurai con. "Big guy, give me a low 5. Ratso held out his hands, where Uriah slapped them and transferred the removal spell to his own, which he used to quickly grab the mask that was firmly stuck on his rear and began to yank it off. No. Ikazuki struggled against the pull, but the good magic was much stronger than he realized. The samurai con all broke off from their respective battles as they began to move in and assist their general. No, it was already too late. Uriah had completely yanked Ikazuki from his rear. No. The second they were separated, all the samurai con instantly vanished, bringing the brawl to an end. "Who's the wart now?" "Wart." Uriah mocked Ikazuki, now just a simple sentient mask. "Infidel. I will have my revenge." Ikazuki swore. Cedric hissed in disappointment as he slithered his way toward Wang and Miranda. "It is time to retreat," he said as Wang silently agreed before waving his scepter to encase himself, and the 2 shapeshifters in a dark smokescreen before they vanished, along with the Dark Kai enforcers. "Ah yeah, Who's the hero of my dream? Uriah. Whatcha say? Uriah. He cheered for himself. And the girls go wild. Nothing can stop. Suddenly, he was squeezed in the shoulder-neck area by Uncle, causing Uriah to lose consciousness as he fell to the ground, causing him to drop Ikazuki, who rolled closer to Jade. Fools. I will claim a new mighty form and devour your. Ikazuki's rant was brought to an end as Jade yanked the rat talisman from his forehead, rendering the mask non-sentient once more. Blah, blah, blah. Jade smirked. Finally. Thank you, Jade. Terani breathed in relief with everyone else. Yes. All that chatter was giving Uncle headache. Uncle also said. Besides, there are others, whom I'd rather hear speak. He said, glancing up with a smile toward his apprentice. Likewise, Sensei. Toru agreed. Ah, you're back together again. Lin said as she pulled them both into a hug, in which Yan Lin smiled and nodded. Nice to have our wizarding duo back. Irma nodded with approval as well. So long as this means we're not playing messenger bird again, I'm cool. Cornelia agreed. Same here. Alchemy agreed. Alright, now a bigger question is, what do we do with him? Jackie asked as they all looked down to Uriah, who was already snoring and drooling. Is he asleep? Caleb voiced his surprise aloud. He did think this whole thing was a dream. Will began to think. We could drop him off at his house, and he'll think he dreamt everything. Good, because I do not want this jerk in the group. Alchemy said. Let's call section 13 and, Jade however took a few whiffs of the air before plugging her nose in disgust. Ah, who farted? Everyone else began to catch the stench as they directed their attention toward the source, an unconscious Uriah. He said he had to use the restroom. Toru said. Yan Lin winced. Sometimes, when someone really has to go to the bathroom, and they lose consciousness, they sometimes lose control of their bowels. Everyone paled in horror realizing what that meant. He crapped his pants. Cornelia practically screamed as all the girls flew as far away as they could, with Alchemy running for the same purpose as they all screamed in disgust. I'm not touching him. Irma raised her hands up. Neither am I. Jade also raised her hands up. Ditto. Terani exclaimed. Not it. Lin shouted. I'm not touching him even with a 5-foot pole. Will quickly said. Uncle gave a sigh. I will carry him. This is my fault because of silly argument, so Uncle must repent. Even Yan Lin winced. I think that's a bit too much repentance, even for you Jin. Allow me to assist then, Sensei. Toru walked forward to help Uncle as everyone else tried to get as far away as they could. Okay, I vote that we never bring this whole thing up ever again. Alchemy quickly said. Agreed. Jackie, Will, Jade, Irma, Lin, Cornelia, Terani, and Caleb all replied simultaneously without hesitation. Fright Night Fight. Spider Rock, a natural national monument located in the Apache County of Arizona, stood almost 6,000 feet straight up within the canyon park. And at the moment, Cornelia, in her guardian form, was near the top as she focused her earth powers on the area of the rock in front of her to clear away part of its surface to reveal what she and her friends came here to find. I know what I'm not wearing for Halloween this year. Cornelia commented as she pulled out the 6th Oni mask. It was orange with yellow eyes and red pupils, with purple hair at the back. She quickly flew back down where Jackie, Will, Lin, Irma, Jade, Caleb, and Terani were all waiting for her, the other 5 girls in their own guardian forms as well. And that makes 6. Jackie said. Ooh, I really like the purple hair at the back. Lin commented. Really contradicts well with the orange face. And it'll be collecting dust in section 13 when we get back home. Will said. So, let's get going. Someone's in a hurry. Caleb noted. Well duh. Today's Halloween. Irma reminded. We had to fly all the way out to Arizona. The flight here was 5 freaking hours. If we leave now, we can get back to Heatherfield just before sunset and get our trick-or-treating on. Jade added. Yeah, that's all true. Will said. But I'm more concerned about getting the mask out of here before the bad guys show up and it ends up on one of their faces. Or worse, one of ours. Yeah, that's a better reason. Terani admitted. We already had to deal with 5 tribes of Shotokan so far, and that's 5 too many. Agreed. Jackie nodded. Let's go before Dragon decimates village. They all looked eastward in surprise to see a surging blue fireball rushing toward them at intense speed. All 7 of them split apart to avoid getting trampled and blown away just as the fireball hit the base of Spider Rock with explosive results. The dust quickly cleared to reveal the Dark Kai warrior known as Hawk Fu. "Oh great, it's the Black Tiger on magic steroids," Irma muttered with lowered eyelids. "And he's not the only one." Terraini pointed behind them as they saw Cedric, Miranda, each in their respective beast forms, along with Daolan Wang appear as well. "Chan, Guardians," Cedric hissed. "Thanks for retrieving the mask for us. Now I will be taking it so that I may place it upon my face," Hawk Fu declared. "Are you kidding?" Hei Lin questioned. "But you're already orange. This mask so wouldn't work well for your skill tone." "Right, cause that's what we're worried about, Hei Lin," Jade muttered sarcastically. "You want the mask?" Caleb drew his katana, ready for battle. "Come and take it." "With pleasure." Wang sneered as he blasted a series of dark magic bolts from his scepter, forcing the group to split and avoid them. "Cornelia," Jackie called to her as he backflipped to avoid Wang's attacks. "Take the mask and go." "Don't have to tell me," Cornelia shouted as she flew away with the Oni mask in hand. Raptor chases prey. Hawk Fu gave pursuit. "Jade, you and I are gonna help Cornelia," Will told her best friend. "Got it." Jade nodded. "Everyone else, take care of these guys," Will said to the rest of her teammates as the 2 guardians flew to aid their comrade. Cedric roared as he lunged toward Jackie, throwing a fist toward him, but Jackie backflipped out of the way as the fist cracked the rocky ground. Caleb then assisted Jackie as he rushed at Cedric's side, slicing him with his katana, causing Cedric to roar in pain before he swung his tail at him, knocking Caleb back before Jackie leapt toward Cedric, leaping from his chest toward his face, where he dealt a kick to knock him down. Miranda spat a great deal of webbing toward Hei Lin, who proved too quick to avoid the strands as she flew in the air before blasting a cyclone of wind straight toward the humanoid spider, who leapt to avoid the attack before crawling up the side of Spider Rock. "Hey," Hei Lin pointed out, "you're a spider, and the place is called Spider Rock. That's pretty funny, in an ironic sort of way." "I don't care," Miranda replied before spitting more web at Hei Lin, who created a sphere of air around her to blow the web back. Terraini threw a series of fireballs directly at Wang, who protected himself with a dome of dark magic, which even blocked a stream of water shot at him from behind by Irma. Even with both elemental attacks pressed against him, Wang's magic seemed too resilient for them as he laughed. "Foolish children," Wang chuckled. "You may have grown more accustomed to your powers, but my experience far trumps anything you have accomplished in your pitiful lives." "We get it. You're old," Irma stated. "They say I talk too much." Meanwhile, Cornelia held the Oni mask close as she threw a series of boulders and rocks toward Hawk Fu in an attempt to slow him down, but he simply threw out his fists to punch and shatter each boulder on contact as he got closer. "Hey, Dork Fu," he heard from behind as Will flew in at high speeds to land a solid kick at his face, which was able to knock him down onto the ground. Right as he hit the ground, his shadow morphed into a series of tentacles that wrapped around his limbs in an attempt to restrain him. "I've heard of chasing your shadow, but it looks like the shadows got you." Jade tried to quip. "How was that, guys?" she asked Will and Cornelia. I've heard better." Will shrugged. "Yeah, I'd give that a 6 out of 10 at best." Cornelia agreed. However, their attention was turned back to Hawk Fu as he broke free of his shadow restraints to leap back to his feet and face the heroes again. "I'm finished playing games. Give me the mask or suffer a painful end. You'll kill us even if we get to give you," Cornelia told him. "Guys, I got an idea." Jade quickly whispered her plan to her fellow guardians. They both smiled and nodded in understanding. "You want the mask, Hawk Fu?" Will called to him as Cornelia seemingly handed the Oni mask to him. "Come and get it." She flew away, with Hawk Fu giving chase. "Tyrannosaurus corners fleeing insect," Hawk Fu shouted as he leapt and landed with a powerful crash in front of Will, who had lured Hawk Fu in front of a canyon wall, which casted a large shadow over the area, but he didn't seem to notice as Will was knocked onto the ground, her back facing upward as she held something close to her person. "As I said, no more games." He grabbed Will by the shoulder. "The mask." When he threw her away and picked up what she was holding, he was surprised to see it wasn't the mask, but a flat piece of stone. "What? Trick or treat?" Will called to him with a smirk as the large shadow around Hawk Fu expanded and completely wrapped around Hawk Fu, who had already begun to struggle to escape his binding, but it proved more difficult than he thought. Trick for you. Jade began as she controlled the shadows to bind Hakufu and hold him in place. Treat for us. Cornelia finished, revealing she still had the Oni mask on hand, as she used her own earth powers to collapse that part of the canyon wall, creating a rockslide which piled over the trapped Hakufu. When it was all done, Jade felt the mass in her shadow bindings vanish, indicating that Hakufu had gone poof. All three girls smirked as Jade held out both her fists for a mutual fist bump with Will on the right and Cornelia on the left. Back with the others, Terani had erected a column of fire around Daolon Wang, who was still protected by his dark magic barrier. The Dark Kai wizard continued to laugh. How many times must I tell you? Your crude magic is no match for my superior powers. Are you sure about that? The Fire Guardian asked as she noticed that Wang, while still protected by his barrier, could still feel the intense heat and was beginning to sweat. Getting kinda sweaty in there, huh? That was all Irma needed to hear as she focused her control over the water coming from Daolon Wang's face and was able to slice at his face, specifically around his eyes, causing Wang to yell in pain as he held his face, forcing him to drop his magic. This allowed Terani to close in with her flaming cyclone, causing it to explode and sending him flying. Meanwhile, Heilin had flew around Miranda at high speeds, which she further enhanced with her air powers, which already began to create a large tornado around the humanoid spider, pulling her straight up before she flew in to deliver a flying kick and send Miranda shooting out at such speeds, that when she slammed into Cedric, who was still facing Jackie and Caleb, it was enough to knock them both unconscious as they collapsed. Not wanting to take any chances, Irma flew in with Terani as the Water Guardian sprayed them both with water, which Heilin added by blowing a cold stream of air from her mouth to freeze it, trapping both shapeshifters under a thick sheet of ice. Nice work, girls. Jackie nodded with approval. That should hold them for a while. They got the ice, and we got the mask. Will said as she, Jade, and Cornelia flew in. And that means it's Halloween time. Heilin cheered. After another 5-hour flight on Section 13's private jet, Terani put in. Way to take the air out of our wings, Terani. Jade told her with a partially annoyed expression. Meridian, Phobos Castle. Elion stood over her balcony, overlooking the beautiful castle below, or rather, the illusion that her elder brother had set up in order to keep her in his confidence until his plan was ready. However, despite the seemingly beautiful day she was experiencing, Elion gave a sad sigh as she sulked over the balcony's rail. Ah, what's wrong? Ratso asked as he, Finn, and Chow walked up from behind. You're looking kinda down, kiddo. Chow pointed out. Something up, little E. Finn asked as well. The princess gave another sigh before answering. It's Halloween back home. Makes me miss my friends. This caused the Dark Kai enforcers to look toward the girl in sympathy. Ya know, last year when Cornelia, Alchemy, and I went trick-or-treating, we actually dressed as the real Three Stooges. No way. Seriously. Chow said with a smile. Didn't know you were into that. Finn also said. Are you kidding? Those guys are always good for a laugh. Elion smiled as she continued. I dressed up as Mo, Alchemy was Larry, Cornelia was Curly. She laughed. Let me tell ya, Cornelia was not happy at the idea of us shaving her hair. But she just ended up wearing a bald cap instead. Ratso smiled as he looked out past the balcony. Hey, you guys see that? I think I see Niagara Falls from here. Getting his hint, his friends followed along. Niagara Falls. Finn began. Slowly he turned toward Chow, who was also acting out, backing up as Finn approached him. And step by step, inch by inch, I walked up to him and I smashed him. He smacked Chow in the face. I mashed him. He smacked the top of his head. I bopped him. He punched Chow's gut. I ripped him to pieces. And I knocked him down. He pushed Chow to the ground, who fell on purpose. Elion couldn't help but laugh at all that. Oh, that's my favorite. She said while laughing. Thanks guys, that really helped, she said as her laugh died down. Happy to help kid. Ratso smiled as he ruffled Elion's hair. However, her smile faded once again. I miss my friends. This caused each of their smiles to fade as Finn, Ratso, and Chow exchanged nervous expressions, a deep feeling sinking into their guts. They already hated the idea of deceiving this sweet kid, and now it was only getting worse. Heatherfield, Silver Dragon. It was just before nightfall as Jackie was on the phone with Uncle, holding the 6th Oni mask as he sat at a table in the restaurant's empty kitchen. "I have the mask, right here at the Silver Dragon," Jackie said to his uncle. "Why is the mask not involved?" Uncle questioned. "By the time we landed, the girls wanted to get changed into their costumes so they could still go trick-or-treating, and they wanted to show me what they were wearing," Jackie explained. "Don't worry, Uncle. I've got the mask with me, and once everyone is ready, I will drop it off at Section 13 right away. This mask will not end up on anybody's face. So, there is no need to make mask removal potion?" Uncle asked. "Not this time, Uncle," Jackie replied with a smile. "The only masks you will see tonight will be on the faces of trick-or-treating children," he said before hanging up. "Hey Jackie, we're all set." He heard Will's voice from the main dining room, causing Jackie to put down the Oni mask and walk outside to see most of the girls all dressed up for Halloween. Will was dressed as Black Widow from Marvel Comics, Terani wore a Gryffindor Hogwarts uniform from Harry Potter, and even had the titular scar painted on her forehead. Haylin wore a black suit with skull face paint, giving her the appearance of Jack Skellington. Cornelia wore the blue bodysuit worn by Samus Aran, and Irma wore Chun-Li from Street Fighter. "So, what do you think?" Irma asked as she took a martial art pose. "Do we look badass or what? You all look ready to have fun," Jackie said with a nod and a smile. "I look ridiculous." They heard Caleb's grumble as he walked forward, causing most of the girls to chuckle to see that he was dressed as Legolas from Lord of the Rings, complete with a blonde wig and elf ears. "Why am I dressed like a girl?" "You're not," Terani said, while the other girls tried to hide their laughter. Legolas was a guy. His hair just happened to be long. Not to mention he was really good looking too, Cornelia added as she walked up to straighten his costume. "And you pull his look very well," she said with a smirk. Caleb blushed, not just from the compliment, but how close Cornelia was to him. Ha, well, if you say so, I guess I can make it work," he said as Cornelia finished adjusting his costume. "So, this Halloween is basically a bunch of kids dressing up and getting candy for it. No offense, but it doesn't make any sense at all. It's all for fun," Yan Lin said as she walked in, dressed for the occasion as well. Her costume appeared to be that of Wicked Witch of the West, complete with green face paint. "And you kids better have fun, or I'm gonna get ya and your little dog too." She gave the signature cackle of her character. "Wow, she's good," Irma commented. "Grandma always goes out for Halloween," Haylin said. "Sometimes, a little too much." Jackie shook his head with a smile before he noticed something, or someone, missing from the group. "Where are Jade and Alchemy?" "Alchemy stayed at Uncle's shop while we were getting the mask," Cornelia replied. "She texted me, saying that she'll meet up with us later." As for Jade, Terani looked around. She said she'd be here but... Roar. Jade suddenly popped up from under the table, clad in black with dark green and orange face paint, fake horns, and vampire teeth. Everyone screamed as most of the girls clung to each other, while with Irma and Terani with Haylin, Cornelia clung to Caleb in a startle, even Jackie was more than startled. However, Yan Lin apparently saw it coming as she simply smiled. "That's right, mortals," Jade put on her character. "Cower before Oni Boo Boo, and the dreaded Cerberus." She gestured behind her to reveal Scruffy, who had 2 separate dog masks tied to his collar, giving the impression that he had 3 heads. It didn't take long for everyone to regain their senses. "Geez Jade, you almost gave us a heart attack," Will chastised. "Duh, scarring people is the whole point of Halloween," Jade said. "Well yes, but out of all things, why did?" Jackie stuttered, referring to Jade's choice of costume. "I don't know anything scarier looking than an Oni demon, do you?" Jade replied. "She has a point," Caleb put in. "The Oni are actually rather terrifying, even more so than anything Phobos has." "Here I thought you were still traumatized from that whole Queen of the Shotokan mess," Irma said. "What better way to get over said trauma than by dressing up as my worst fear?" Jade responded. "That is actually a rather clever idea," Yan Lin commented before putting on her Wicked Witch act again. "Very clever my pretty. Like 2 peas in a pod those two," Cornelia whispered to Haylin, who nodded in agreement. Will's attention was then directed back to Scruffy, who barked with excitement, prompting her to kneel down and pet him affectionately. "Ah, who's a cute three-headed demon dog? You are." "Yes, you are." She gave him plenty of affection just as the restaurant doors opened and two familiar individuals walked inside. "Buenos noches, mis amigos." El Toro Fuerte greeted. "Hey El Toro." Hey Lin waved as she gave him a quick hug. "Long time no see." She parted ways and allowed her friends to give the Mexican wrestler greeting handshakes and high fives. "Looks like you're dressed up for the night too, huh?" Caleb observed. "This is no costume, young Caleb." El Toro told him, referring to his mask. "This is a way of life." "Well, I am glad that you could join us for Halloween." Jackie greeted his friend and ally. "And next year, you and everyone else must join us in Mexico for La Dia de Muertos." El Toro replied. "Ooh, the Day of the Dead." Terani smiled. "That sounds like fun. And it looks like Boy Wonder Paco's here too." Jade noticed the boy that was around her age, who was currently dressed in a similar luchador attire to that of El Toro, only his mask was black and yellow instead of red. "I think you mean, El Poco Fuerte." Poco leapt in front of Jade. "Are you prepared to face wrestling's second mightiest champion, next to El Toro, Jade?" he challenged. Jade scoffed. "If you read the emails I sent you, you know I've got magic powers now, so it won't be easy." A true wrestler never runs from a challenge. He took a wrestling stance with a smirk. "Bring it." Jade accepted, taking a kung fu stance of her own. "Poco, not here." El Toro stepped in to break it up. "You know the rules, no wrestling outside the ring. Plus, this is a nice restaurant, and it would be disrespectful of us as guests to damage it in any way." Poco gave a small sigh in acceptance. "Yes, El Toro. But hey, tell you what." Jade proposed. "After trick-or-treating is done, we make our own ring and duke it out." "Deal." She offered her hand. Poco smiled as he shook her hand. "Deal." "You've been writing emails to Poco about your powers, Jade." Jackie looked toward his niece in surprise. "Duh, he's my pen pal." Jade said as if it were obvious, but noticed the teasing looks on the other girls' faces. "What? Only a pen pal?" Cornelia teased. "You sure it's not a bit more than that?" Will also teased. "Before email was invented, Jin and I used to write letters to each other all the time." Even Yan Lin joined in the teasing. Getting their hints, Jade's cheeks turned pink, which the makeup seemed unable to hide. "What? No, it's not like that." "Sure, whatever you say." Irma rolled her eyes with a smirk. "As much as I enjoy teasing Jade, isn't it time to get our trick-or-treating on?" Hey Lin asked with anticipation as Scruffy ran around her in circles, barking excitedly. "See, Scruffy's excited, aren't you boy?" she gushed as she scratched him behind the ears. "We're just waiting for Alchemy, she should be here soon." Terani added. "All right, just 5 more minutes, and we're gonna take this town for everything it's got." Irma exclaimed as she already burst out the doors. "Irma." She looked to the side in surprise to see none other than her parents walking toward from the sidewalk. "Mom, Dad, what are you guys doing here?" she asked her parents. "Your mother and I are going to the movies," her father explained. "There was a raffle at the station for 2 free tickets earlier today, and guess who won?" He smirked as he presented said tickets. "So, since we're going out, we need someone to watch your brother for his first Halloween night," Mrs. Lair said. "Hi-ya." The young Chris Lair ran out, holding a toy katana as he was dressed like a little ninja. "Bad guys watch out. Ninja Chris is here. Slice, slice." He played with his toy sword. "What?" Irma questioned in disbelief. But I'm just about to go out with my friends." "Then take him with you," Mr. Lair told his daughter. "Look Irma, I know you and Chris don't always get along, but it's first Halloween, so maybe it can be a bonding experience. Just make sure he doesn't stay up too late, and he doesn't get sick from all that candy," Mrs. Lair said as she and her husband walked away. "Have fun, and keep an eye on your brother," she called out one last time. "I'm going to take all the candy in town," Chris shouted as he ran into the restaurant, leaving Irma to look more than a little annoyed. "Give me Oni demons over babysitting anyway," she commented before walking in as well. "Bad news guys, my brother is joining us." "Yeah, we figured." Will replied as they all saw Chris quickly stand up on a table to continue to play around, but Jackie quickly came to pick him up. Chris, you should not play on high places like that, you could get hurt. Jackie told him. Ninjas don't get hurt. We're super cool and super fast. Chris rolled around. We've had to deal with more than enough ninjas in our life. Cornelia muttered. Why does the universe hate us? Ooh, wow. Are you real luchadors? Chris asked as he looked toward El Toro and Poco. That is correct, little one. El Toro smiled as he ruffled the boy's hair. Well, I am. Poco is still learning. But I won't be an apprentice wrestler for long. Just you wait. Poco also said. Chris practically squealed with excitement. This Halloween is gonna be so fun. Only to be picked up under the arms by his elder sister. Pest whose name is Chris, I don't wanna have to spend my Halloween dealing with your shenanigans. Irma said in a scolding manner. So, I'm gonna set one thing straight. If you're with us, you stay with us. I don't wanna get yelled at just because you went off on your own. You're no fun. Chris spat raspberries at his sister as she sat him down before he stormed off with a pout into the kitchen. Irma. Jackie began. I can understand why you feel frustrated. But he is your brother, and he is still young. You could try to be more patient with him. Yeah, well, patience doesn't always shoot toy arrows at you. Irma pinched the bridge of her nose. Or run your foot over with a trike, inside your own house. Chris continued to pout as he was alone in the kitchen. Why do I have to go with my stinky sister and all these lame girls? I can go trick-or-treating all on my own. As he continued to pout, he glanced towards a certain table where he spotted the Oni mask that Jackie had left. Wow, what's this? Chris asked as he picked up the mask to get a good look at it. It looks cool, he said with a smile before a mischievous smirk formed on his face. Meridian, Phobos throne room. 6 masks discovered, and 6 masks lost. Phobos growled as he continued to scold the trio of Cedric, Miranda, and Wong, all of whom kneeled apologetically. Remind me again why I keep the 3 of you around when all you've provided me are failures. And do not use the charade around my sister as an excuse. Humble apologies, Prince Phobos. Wong replied. 3 masks remain, Cedric also said, and just one of them can turn the tide of this war in our favor. It is not over. And how are you able to retrieve the remaining masks when you've already lost more than half of them? Phobos exclaimed. Maybe you should go and retrieve a mask yourself. Miranda repressed her scowl. Now, Tarakudo suddenly appeared from a stained glass window along the side. I'm as disappointed as you are, Phobos, but I do have some good news. It seems somebody on Earth has worn the recently discovered mask. Are you certain, Tarakudo? The Dark Prince asked. 100%. The Oni King confirmed. And the one who wears it is rather young, and the young are often the easiest to manipulate. Phobos appeared to have calmed down. Then it seems this day is not lost after all. Tarakudo, try and bring this Oni child to me, perhaps this one will be able to provide more effective results than the fools who stand before me. Though they did not offer a response, Cedric, Wong, and Miranda were not pleased at the tone Phobos had spoken them to. As you wish. Tarakudo smirked before phasing through the walls. My prince, please allow us another chance. Miranda said. I know we can be of service to you. Can you? My patience is wearing thin. Phobos warned. I can only tolerate so many failures, and you do not want to break my tolerance. Earth, Silver Dragon. Hey guys. Alchemy walked into the restaurant where the rest of the group was waiting. Like all her friends, she was dressed in a costume, and hers was that of Batgirl. Sorry to make you wait for me. She noticed El Toro's presence. Is this the Mexican wrestler you told me about? Yep, Alchemy meet El Toro Fuerte. Cornelia introduced. And his sidekick, Poco. Jade added, revealing her friend as well. Wrestling apprentice. Poco quickly corrected. A pleasure to meet you, Nina. El Toro shook Alchemy's hand in a friendly fashion. Hey Alchemy, why are you always spending so much time at Uncle's shop? Terani asked. I guess I've taken a bit towards all that Kai magic stuff. Alchemy replied. Are you considering becoming a wizard, too? Caleb asked. Alchemy had a nervous smile as she twinged her feet. Maybe. Well, Jin has been saying that Toru has been making steady progress in his apprenticeship. Yan Lin commented. Perhaps once he graduates, you can become Toru's apprentice. This caused Alchemy to blush a bit. Come on, let's save the magic talk till tomorrow. Irma urged. Tonight, it's all about fun. Let's knock on Uncle's door first. Hey, Lin said excitedly. I wanna see if Jade can scare the pants off him with her demon costume. Read my mind. Jade agreed. Will had hooked the leash on Scruffy when she quickly remembered something. Jackie, where's the mask? Will reminded, upon seeing that he didn't currently have it on him. Oh, I left it in the kitchen. Jackie remembered. One moment. He walked into the kitchen, only to find that the mask was no longer where he left it. Where is the mask? What? You lost it? Caleb exclaimed as he and the girls, along with Yan Lin, looked in shock, while El Toro and Paco looked toward each other in mild confusion. But you just had it. Terani exclaimed. Where is it? Terani also noticed that someone else was missing from the group. Hey Irma, where's your brother? Before Irma could even offer a response. Over here, they heard a young and demonic-sounding voice coming from on top of a table, to reveal Chris, who had donned the Oni mask, his body having grown taller by a few feet, his skin turned orange like the mask itself, his hands becoming razor-sharp claws, with his feet undergoing a similar change, and the purple hair stretched down to his back. Everyone gave gasps of horror and shock at what they saw. Copycat. Jade called out. Jade. Hey Lin gulped. I don't think Chris is wearing makeup. Oh. Jade replied before realizing what that meant. Oh. Young man. Your face. El Toro still didn't seem to understand what is going on. What do you think? Don't I look super cool? Oni Chris showed off his transformed state. What has happened to him? Paco asked Jade. Wasn't he much smaller? Yeah, he's kinda wearing an evil demon mask. Jade winced. Chris, Irma tried to speak cautiously to her transformed brother while Scruffy growled at him. Let's not do anything crazy. Just sit tight while we make a quick phone call. No way. Oni Chris protested. I wanna go trick-or-treating. So that's what I'm gonna do. He backflipped off the table, breaking through the main window before landing on his feet and sped off into the city, much to everyone's look of comic horror, while Scruff barked in the direction Oni Chris sped off too. Bad day, Irma said with a sulk. My little brother's a literal speed demon. Alchemy. Yan Lin put her hand on the girl's shoulder. I believe it is time to demonstrate what you've learned with Kai spells. You and me go to Uncle's and help make a mask removal spell. Alchemy got the message. Yeah, good idea. Looks like Halloween's gonna have to be put on hold. Will said, getting serious. If we hurry, we can track him down before he summons his Shotokan, or else this will turn into a real night of horrors. Agreed. I will call Uncle. Jackie nodded. El Toro, I know this may all sound confusing, but we can really use your help right now. I understand amigo, and I will help in any way I can. El Toro nodded. As will I. Poco stepped up. When it looked like his mentor was about to protest, Poco spoke up. El Toro, you taught me everything I know. What good is being a wrestler, when I can't use my skills to help my friends? He has shown me some good moves on those videos he sent me. Even Jade added, if he sticks with us, he should be fine. And we need all the help we can get. El Toro didn't like the idea, but he had a feeling that Poco would just sneak off to join them anyway even if he forbade it. Jade's influence was quite clear. Alright, but you stick close to me, Poco. Understood. El Toro nodded. Come on, let's get going. Caleb stated as everyone ran outside to try and find the demonic toddler. I have a feeling that Chris isn't going to be the only Oni we have to worry about tonight. Uncle's rare finds. The phone at the front desk rang, which Uncle, who was dressed in a pirate costume, picked up to answer. Hello. He heard his nephew on the other line. Jackie, Uncle is very busy right now. The doorbell rang. Toru, Candy. Toru, clad in a bumblebee costume, stepped out from the back room with a bowl of candy. Coming, Sensei. BZZZ. BZZZ. He and Uncle walked toward the door to answer what they thought was an ordinary trick-or-treater. Arg, matey. Uncle tried to act like a pirate, even though he still had the phone with Jackie on the other line. However, the one at the door was none other than Oni Chris, who growled, but the adults seemed convinced it was just a costume. Why must Uncle devise removal potion now? Uncle questioned over the phone to his nephew before turning back to the Oni Chris. Very nice Japanese Oni demon costume. He told the boy as he handed him candy, not noticing the look of realization and horror on Toru's face once he got a good look at the boy. Thank you, goodbye. He waved as he closed the door. Nice. Nice. Oni Chris exclaimed. I'm a scary ninja. I'm not nice. He growled as he threw away the candy before speeding off. Back inside, who put new Oni mask on face? Uncle questioned in shock as he heard Jackie explain the situation over the phone. Smack Irma overhead for not watching over brother. And smack yourself for letting mask out of sight. Both mask and Irma brother were right under your nose. Sensei, Toru got his attention, gesturing to the closed door and the so-called trick-or-treater they had just saw. It didn't take long for Uncle to put two and two together. Aiya. They both quickly looked out the door to find that Oni Chris was long gone by this point. Quickly Toru. We must prepare mask removal potion. Meanwhile, Oni Chris was in a local neighborhood, observing all the costumes the other kids wore. Ranging from superheroes to princesses, though he seemed more focused on the costumes of monsters like werewolves, vampires, mummies, and other similar outfits. They all have pretty scary costumes. Oni Chris said to himself as he looked at his hands. I wonder if I'm at all scary enough. Oh, believe me, you are more than scary enough. Tarakudo revealed himself as he emerged from a nearby jack-o'-lantern. Oni Chris gave a gasp in surprise. Are you the Great Pumpkin? Indeed. Tarakudo quickly lied as he began to work his magic. And I'm here to show all ghoulies, goblins, and demons, how to be as scary as they can be. Show me. Show me how to be really scary. Oni Chris said. I want to scare everyone. Especially my stinky sister. All you need do is feel the power, young one. Tarakudo told him. Call upon the darkness within. Meanwhile, the heroes decided to split into two groups of 5 to cover more ground. One group consisted of Jackie, Irma, Jade, El Toro, Paco, along with Scruffy, while the other was of Will, Caleb, Haylin, Terani, and Cornelia. The second group was still looking around the city, while the first was checking around the neighborhoods. So, let me see if I understand this correctly. El Toro began to sum up what he had been told. These, Oni masks, as you call them, have the ability to summon Shotokan, while the bearer slowly becomes a demon. Yep, Jade confirmed, and we need to find the kid before he summons his Shotokan. Damn it, Irma muttered as she came to a stop, causing the group to turn around and see the frustrated look on her face. He was right there in front of me. I take my eyes off him for 5 seconds, and now he's a demon. She looked ready to tear out her hair. Irma, this wasn't your fault. Jackie tried to assure her. If anything, I am the one to blame. I should have taken the mask directly to Section 13 and put in the vault. That way nobody could have worn it. No, we wanted you to check out our costumes. Irma looked away with guilt. My parents told me to watch him, but I didn't. I'm the worst sister ever. Okay, look, we all feel bad, but mopping about it isn't gonna fix things. Jade tried to tell her. Jade is right. Paco agreed. Whenever we make a mistake, we do what we can to make things right. Indeed. El Toro put a sympathetic hand on Irma's shoulder. Speaking as a man who was once dishonorable and a cheat, I understand the heavy weight of guilt that is placed on one's shoulders. But you can still save your hermano, and you have friends to support you, Nina. Irma gave a somewhat emotional smile to her friends. Thanks guys. However, the moment came to an end as they heard Scruffy barking and growling in one direction. Looks like Cerberus has picked up something. Jade said. We must be getting close, let's go. Jackie led the group in the direction Scruffy ran off to. As they did, a determined look fell on Irma's face. Hang on Chris. Your big sis is coming. A doorbell rang as a man opened for the next batch of trick-or-treaters, only to come face to face with the Oni Chris. Whoa, those are some crazy costumes. And Chris wasn't alone, for he had summoned a group of his Shotokan. They had bodies akin to that of slugs, with long tentacled arms draped along their sides, black outer skin and dark blue underbellies. Their faces were covered by black masks, revealing only a single red visor. Trick or treat, Oni Chris said in sadistic glee before his Shotokan shot their tentacles toward the poor man. The man screamed as he closed the door behind him. If you offer no treat, then we will get a trick. Oni Chris stated as the Shotokan began to stretch around the house, their shadow forms slipping through the cracks of the doors, windows, chimney, and even air vents. No! The man screamed in terror as he was literally backed into a corner with the tentacles stretching toward him. No! 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 Go away! As he screamed, one single tentacle snatched the bowl of candy he had in his hands before pulling away with the rest of the Shotokan. When the man opened his eyes, he found that all the living shadows had vanished. I need to lay off the Red Bull. Back outside, as Oni Chris helped himself to all the candy, the group consisting of Jackie, Irma, Jade, Paco, El Toro, and Scruffy looked around the corner of the house to see what had occurred. I take it these are the new tribe of Shotokan you mentioned? El Toro asked. Yes. Jackie nodded. Big slimy, scary, made for Halloween Shotokan. Jade gulped. Not that I am scared, but babe we should call for backup. Paco asked. Already sent a text to Will and the others. Irma revealed, putting her phone away. Scruffy growled at the sight of the Shotokan, as well as the Oni King who hovered over the transformed boy, but he did not seem to notice the heroes quite yet. Congratulations, kiddo. You passed your first test with flying colors. Tarakudo told Oni Chris. Next on the to-do list, retrieve the other masks so that we may bathe entire worlds in darkness. That is not going to happen. They heard El Toro's voice as the group stepped out into the open. Let my brother go, Taradork. Irma warned. Or things are gonna get ugly, even by Halloween standards. Your brother? Tarakudo asked in minor surprise before he chuckled. Well, that's a pleasant surprise. I honestly didn't know. A dark smile formed on his face. But that just makes this all the more interesting. Well, if it isn't my stinky sister. Oni Chris snarled. Come to ruin my fun again. Sorry Chris, but I'm gonna give you serious spanking for this. Irma told him. Oh yeah, you and what army? Oni Chris snapped his fingers as at least a dozen more tentacled Shotokan appeared around the group. That one, I'm guessing. Jade noted. But she quickly smirked as she reached into her pocket to pull out the monkey talisman. Scruffy, time to go Cerberus mode. She aimed the talisman at her dog, causing him to transform into a 12-foot-tall three-headed, black-furred dog resembling the mythological beast. The transformed Scruffy gave a howl before leaping at the Shotokan to lash out with his claws and teeth. Jackie looked to his niece in surprise with everyone else. I borrowed the monkey talisman to give Scruffy a magic makeover and scare a few kids. Jade explained. And, when I heard Paco was coming, she flicked to him the ox talisman from her pocket as well. A little super strength so that he can be a good sparring partner with me and my guardian powers. Jackie, El Toro, and even Irma looked toward Jade with surprised expressions. What? You're gonna complain about them now? When they're useful? Talk about this later. Jackie said before he nodded to El Toro, who threw off his suit to reveal his luchador uniform and went on the attack. One Shotokan lashed out its tentacle towards the wrestler, who caught it to pull the Shotokan back and knock him down to vanish. He then rushed to the side of a second to push it down with raw strength alone before a third wrapped both its tentacles around his arm. However, Jackie came in for the save to tackle that very same Shotokan to the ground and destroy it before swerving around the tentacle lashings of another. At the same time, Poco, using the strength of the Ox Talisman, lifted up one Shotokan to throw him into another, while Jade and Irma found themselves back to back as three tentacled Shotokan surrounded them. Hope backup gets here soon. Jade muttered. Along with a mask removal potion. Irma added in the same tone. Uncle's rare finds. Trick or treat. One child said at the front door as Yan Lin handed her some candy. Enjoy yourself. Yan Lin waved the child goodbye before turning to the working trio behind her. How is that potion coming along? We are working as fast as we can. Toru replied as he, Uncle, and Alchemy were at the cauldron, placing in the necessary ingredients to brew the removal potion. Toru, scale of lizard. Uncle requested as the sumo threw in some lizard scales. Alchemy, root skin. Right here. Alchemy handed him the aforementioned ingredient, which Uncle put in. What's next? Sulfur root. Toru. Uncle instructed. Yes, sensei. He handed him the ingredient, which Uncle mixed in. Alchemy, eye of newt. Got it. Alchemy handed him a jar of newt eyes, only to get dope slapped on the forehead. Ow. What? Left eye of newt. Uncle chastised. Not right eye. Alchemy looked on the lid of the jar to see that it had a bold R at the top, causing her to groan as she pulled out another jar of nude eyes that had a bold L at the top, before handing it to Uncle. Now for special ingredient, tentacle of Japanese octopus. Uncle instructed as Alchemy handed him said tentacle with a pair of tongs, not willing to directly touch it. I don't even wanna know how you got that. Alchemy said in a slightly disgusted tone. Starting to have second thoughts about becoming a wizard. One tentacled Shotokan was thrown into a fence by El Toro before two more lashed out their tentacles around his arms, prompting him to pull his arms together with raw strength and slam his dark enemies into each other, causing them to vanish. Jackie backed away to avoid the tentacle lashes from another enemy before finding himself cornered by a fence. He avoided one tentacle lash by hopping onto the fence with both hands and, in one fluid motion, slammed both his feet into the Shotokan to knock it down. Poco used his magically enhanced strength to grab the tail of one Shotokan and spin it around before letting it go to send it crashing into two more enemies. At the same time, Cerberus Scruffy roared as his middle head bit down on one Shotokan to destroy it, while the two side heads growled and barked at four more that surrounded him as they ensnared their tentacles around his legs and looked like they were about to pull him apart. "Tentacles off my dog," Jade exclaimed as she gave a flying kick to knock one Shotokan down, while Irma had picked up one jack-o'-lantern to smash it onto the head of another, freeing the front legs of Cerberus Scruffy before his side heads lashed out with their teeth to bite down on the remaining enemies. However, despite their best efforts, the heroes found themselves surrounded as several more tentacled Shotokan appeared around them. "Really could use some backup right now," Irma stated. "Well, you got some." They heard Will's voice call out as they saw her, along with Cornelia, Caleb, Haylin, and Terani run onto the scene with the redhead brandishing the heart of Kandrakar. Guardians unite. In a flashy transformation, all 6 girls present had taken their respective forms as the guardians of W.I.T.C.H. "Trick or treat," Terani said as she threw out a series of fireballs to destroy 3 enemies in one strike while the other guardians flew out to engage their newfound enemy. Caleb drew his katana to cut down one Shotokan before ducking under the tentacles of another, which he sliced off before moving in to decapitate the very same enemy as he came back to back with Jackie. "Came as fast as we could. How's the potion?" Caleb asked Jackie. "It should be almost done by now. Just hold them off," Jackie replied. El Toro was tackled to the ground by 2 Shotokan. He tried to wrestle them off, but they held firm. Fortunately, a wave of razor-sharp wind came in to poof both of them as Haylin flew in to help the luchador to his feet. "Thank you." El Toro nodded. "Yeah, these Squidkin are no joke, huh?" she said before blowing a gust of wind from her mouth to blow back 2 more. "Did she just seriously call them Squidkin?" Will asked as she maneuvered around the tentacle strike of one of the aforementioned Shotokan to deliver a roundhouse kick to its face. As 4 more attempted to ambush her, Cornelia landed behind and pressed her hand to the ground, causing 4 large roots to emerge from the pavement and impale all 4 from behind. I hate tentacles." Cornelia shivered before she and Will went on the attack again. Jade produced a dual set of shadow katanas in her hands to spin and slice, cutting down 2 Squidkin that came close to her before standing on her hands to spin both her feet, generating surges of shadow magic at her soles to knock down 3 more that tried to circle her. "Nice Jade, but check this out," Paco called to her as he grabbed one Squidkin and leapt to the top of a tree before leaping up high, twisting upside down while holding the captured Squidkin in a strong lock before falling down and spinning like a corkscrew to take down 4 more Squidkin below him. "Super piledriver. Nice." Jade gave him a thumbs up. At the same time, Irma pointed her hands forward in the form of a finger gun to shoot bullets of water at 3 incoming Squidkin, causing them to be destroyed on impact. She looked around and saw that while her friends were holding their own, the person of her main concern was missing. "Where's Chris?" Oni Chris growled as he perched himself at the top of a house's rooftop to see his Squidkin army being beaten back. "My stupid sister and her friends are ruining my fun." "So, your sister always does this to you?" Tarakudo asked as he hovered over the transformed boy. "Every time. She doesn't let me have any fun at all." Oni Chris ranted like a toddler. "Well then, I'd say it's time for payback, don't you?" Tarakudo proposed with a smirk. "Indeed." Oni Chris said with a demonic lull in his voice as he telepathically called a total of 5 squidkin to suddenly appear and surround Irma. Before she even had the chance to fight back, they lashed out their tentacles to ensnare her, binding her arms to her sides, while also keeping her legs pinned. Hey, let go. Irma struggled as the squidkin began to fade into the shadows, pulling Irma with them. Her cries caught the attention of all her friends as they looked with alarm. Irma, Will called out as they tried to run and catch her, but several more squidkin appeared to block their way. It's payback time, dear sister. Oni Chris called to her as he leapt down into the molding shadows. And how sweet it shall be. Chris, please listen. This isn't you. It's. Her pleas were cut off as a shadow tentacle wrapped over her mouth before they were completely pulled into the shadows. However, just before the spot on the shadows vanished. Come on, Paco. Jade grabbed her friend by his wrist as she flew them both into the air before soaring straight into the ever-shrinking shadow, with Jade coating herself and Paco in her own shadow magic, enabling them both to enter the shadow just before it shrunk. No. Jade. Jackie called out as the remaining squidkin all vanished as well. Paco. El Toro also called simultaneously. Everyone heard a series of tisks as they looked toward Tarakudo, who hovered gloatingly over the group. Children can be such a headache. Am I right? Hey, you know what else can be a headache? They all heard Alchemy's voice call out as she, Yanlin, Uncle, and Toru just arrive onto the scene. She threw an onion straight at Tarakudo's face, causing him to squint his eyes in agony as he cried green energy. Ah, my eyes. My eyes. Tarakudo cried out before he vanished. We have mask removal potion. Uncle revealed, holding the vial of the completed concoction. Where is boy with mask? Chris vanished and he took Irma with him. Will answered. Jade and Poco flew in after them, but we have no idea where to find them. The group turned around at the sound of sniffing as they saw the Cerberus Scruffy sniffing the ground with all 3 heads, trying to get the familiar scent of his beloved companions. Why is there a 3-headed dog? Toru asked. Actually, we have no idea. Terani answered. But we didn't really question it since he was helping us to fight the squidkin, so. That's Scruffy. Jackie answered. The dog. Caleb exclaimed in shock as even Uncle gasped in shock. Ya know, at this point, I'm not surprised. Conralia muttered. Let me guess, monkey talisman. Will assumed. See. El Toro nodded in confirmation. Yep, that sounds like our Jade. Yan Lin agreed. Hey, Lin then got an idea. Hey, maybe Scruffy can help us find them. I mean, he's got 3 noses now, so he's got 3 times as much of a chance as finding our friends. Pretty sure it doesn't work that way, hey Lin. Terani told her. But, that is a good idea. It's better than nothing, Jackie said as he walked to the transformed dog. Scruffy, can you find Jade, Irma, and Paco? The dog seemed to understand as his left head gave Jackie a lick while his center and right head began to search the area. The center head gave an affirmative growl as he picked up their scents, with the right head barking toward the heroes, telling them to follow him as he fled down the streets. That's probably a yes, Will said. Everyone, follow that super cool transformed magical dog, she stated as they all followed Scruffy. The squidkin emerged from the shadows on the rooftop of a rather tall building in the city alongside Oni Chris. With them, was Irma, was still bound in the tentacles of the squidkin that held her, with her mouth remaining covered. Aw, look at this city. Oni Chris said as he overlooked all of Heatherfield. So much fun I can have here. Why stop with just Halloween? I can have fun all day and all night, and nobody can tell me no. Not mom and dad, and certainly not you. He turned with a glare toward his bound sister as she desperately tried to speak, but couldn't say anything with her mouth covered. Oh, what's that? I can't hear you. Maybe I should shut you up, permanently. He said as he drew his katana, which became a twisted demonic weapon of reality, as opposed to the toy sword he originally had. How about, no? They heard in surprise as they saw Jade fly in, shooting columns of black flame to destroy most of the squidkin, while Paco fell down from above to use his talisman-powered strength to crush the remaining squidkin that kept Irma ensnared, freeing her. Thanks guys, she breathed in relief. No prob, Jade assured as they helped her up. 3 on 1, that's hardly fair. Oni Chris snapped his fingers, causing more squidkin to appear and surround the entire group. Don't suppose you guys brought the potion with you? Irma said with a gulp. No, but I have an idea. Paco said before stepping up and pointing toward Oni Chris. You, Pequeño Diablo. I challenge you to a one-on-one wrestling match. Oh, and why would I do that? Oni Chris asked, his tone indicating the demon inside was almost taking control. You said you like luchadores. Paco recalled. Would you really pass up the chance to wrestle with one? This caused Oni Chris to smile and growl with anticipation. I accept your challenge. Per his decree, 4 of the squidkin surrounded the pair in box formation before stretching their tentacles toward each other in the form of a makeshift wrestling ring. As per the rules of a luchador match, the loser must discard his mask. Paco told him. If you manage to beat me. Oni Chris replied. Paco, you do know the only way to remove an Oni mask is with the potion, right? Jade reminded in a whisper. I know, Jade. Paco whispered back. I plan to stall for time, give El Toro and your friends a chance to find us and use the potion. Just be careful, Irma said. He's a major pain when he's not possessed by a demon, but he's still my little brother. Don't worry, Paco assured. I won't hurt him too bad, but I don't plan to make it easy for him. He took a wrestling stance, making sure to keep the ox talisman well hidden. He noticed the katana that was still in Oni Chris' hands. No weapons allowed in a match. Of course, Oni Chris stuck his blade into the ground. Though a part of Paco felt like a hypocrite since he was technically using a weapon with the ox talisman, but seeing how it was a life or death situation, he was certain El Toro would make an exception this one time. Oni Chris lunged at him first, but Paco fell back and used Oni Chris' own momentum against him as he flung him over to the ropes. However, Oni Chris quickly got back on his feet and lunged at him again, but Paco leapt over him toward the ropes and bounced off them to land a solid headbutt right on his face. Ooh, double cannonball. That's gonna leave a mark. Jade noted. Noxious knee dropper. Irma exclaimed as she saw Oni Chris sweep his feet to knock Paco down, but Paco quickly recovered and to leap to the ropes and catapult himself over Oni Chris, lock his legs around his neck and pull him down. Falling leg headlock. Jade observed as Oni Chris got back up to kick Paco back before leaping up to fall back down, spinning like a corkscrew to land a headbutt onto Paco's face. Palenque piledriver. Irma exclaimed. Okay, how do you know these moves? Jade asked as Paco and Oni Chris continued to duke it out. Chris has been into luchador matches practically since he was born. Irma explained. When I had to babysit him, I'd usually turn on and he'd zone right out. But, I won't say that some of those matches weren't pretty cool. You totally got hooked too, didn't you? Jade asked with a smirk. Guilty as charged, Irma admitted with a nervous smile, before they were brought back to reality as they heard Paco mimicking El Toro's yell as he copied his mentor's signature move, running past Oni Chris and using the ropes on the other side of the ring to catapult himself and land a headbutt into Oni Chris' face to send him flying to the opposite side. However, Oni Chris was quick to get back up again as Paco tried to lay down a kick, only for Oni Chris to grab him by the ankle and slam him over his head and onto the ground rather hard. Hard enough that he let the ox talisman slip away from him. No! Paco exclaimed as Oni Chris saw the talisman as well. You had a hidden weapon. That's cheating. He outstretched his hand to telekinetically call his demonic katana to his hand as he used the other to pull Paco close to his face. And the penalty for cheating is death. Suddenly, Oni Chris was blasted by a powerful surge of water that sent him spiraling to the other side of the rooftop. Sorry Chris, even if you are a major pain in my ass, I won't let you become a murderer. She flew directly at him to tackle and pin him to the ground. Immediately, the squidkin went on the attack, only to have their path blocked by a wall of shadow fire. Hey, where do you guys think you're going? Jade told them as they turned around to face not only her, but also Paco who recovered the ox talisman. Agreed, a true wrestler never flees his opponent. Paco said as both he and Jade leapt toward the horde. Meanwhile, Irma continued to wrestle with her Oni-turned brother as she pinned him to the side of a brick chimney. Come on Chris. You don't listen to me, so why are you listening to some stupid mask? Huh, where's that disobedient brat that's always making a mess? Your little brother cannot hear you anymore, mortal. The Oni inside declared, apparently having taken complete control as he wrenched himself free from Irma's grip, grabbed her by her shirt and pinned her to the same chimney she did him. Irma glared at the demon. Listen, you demonic asshole. If you don't let go of my little brother, I'm gonna tear that mask off and rip it a new one. Oh, and just how are you going to do that? The Oni demon questioned. With this, they both looked up to see Will, Cornelia, Heylin, and Terani, having just arrived via the air as the redhead held the vial of the mask removal potion in hand. And it wasn't just them, the Cerberus Scruffy had climbed up onto the roof with Jackie, Toru, Uncle, El Toro, Caleb, Alchemy, and Yanlin all riding on top of him before they all went on the attack against the Squidkin. Will and Jackie laid out whatever marital arts attack they knew. Terani threw balls of fire, Toru and El Toro joined Paco to beat the enemy back with raw strength. Heylin blasted many back with a tornado attack. Cornelia shook up the roof to knock many off the edge. Caleb sliced them down with his katana. Uncle and Yanlin rode the Cerberus Scruffy along with Alchemy as the former two each shot blasts of Kai magic from their respective blowfish as Cerberus Scruffy himself assisted Jade. Irma, catch! Will threw her the potion, while Irma herself used the surprise to break free of the Oni demon's grasp, flew up to catch the potion and quickly poured it on her hands, causing them to glow green, before flying back down and began to remove the mask. No, no, get off of me, foolish mortal. He struggled against Irma's pull as she tried to pull with all her might. I want my brother back, Irma exclaimed with a yell and one final heave to finally pry the mask off Chris' face. The second it was removed, Chris' body turned back to normal as he fell back and appeared to be knocked unconscious, and all the Squidkin instantly vanished. Yes, Alchemy cheered. Irma quickly joined everyone else as she held her brother in her arms. He's gonna be okay, right? He should be fine, Yanlin assured. Just tired is all. That's a relief. Irma breathed with ease. So, what are we gonna do with him now? Cornelia asked. You think he's gonna remember any of this? Unlikely. Uncle answered. The boy is young, he'll probably dismiss it as a dream and think nothing of it. Alright, Irma nodded as she looked toward the sleeping Chris in her arms. I think I know what to do now. Chris slowly woke up to find himself on the living room couch of his own house. Wake up, sleeping beauty, Irma teased as she sat on the couch next to him, thankfully no longer in her guardian form. What happened? Chris asked as he felt his head and stomach. My head is dizzy and my tummy hurts. That's what happens when you eat all that candy at once, Irma told him. Sugar rush and a stomachache all together. Looks like you might be out of it for the rest of Halloween. Ah, that's not fair. Chris sulked, having bought his sister's story. So instead, how about a non-stop lucha libre marathon till mom and dad get back home? Irma suggested as she turned on the television to play said marathon. This got Chris' attention as he instantly had his eyes glued to the screen. Ooh, it's the Green Dragon versus Red Gorilla again, my favorite. Yeah, had a feeling you'd say that, Irma said as she sat next to him and pulled her brother closer. What are you doing? Chris asked. Giving my little brother a hug. What else? Irma replied. Ew, you'll get your cooties on me. Chris shrugged her off. Oh, well in that case, Irma smirked almost evilly as she pulled her little brother in. Kiss attack. She kissed him all over his face. No, stop. Ew. Girly kisses. Ew. The toddler squirmed in Irma's grip, but had no chance of escape. Meanwhile, the entire scene was being watched by the other girls from the main window along with Scruffy, who had been turned back to normal. I can't quite tell if she really means it or is just trying to mess with him, Terani said. Probably both, Cornelia replied as they walked away while Jackie, Caleb, Uncle, Yanlin, and Toru continued to speak with El Toro and Paco. Thank you again for your help, El Toro, Jackie said. I apologize that our Halloween was a bit more exciting than what we had planned. No need to apologize, amigo, the wrestler assured. I am always happy to help. If you require any assistance with the remaining Oni masks, please let us know. We'll be sure to help. Though he had said that toward Jackie and everyone else, he directed his last statement towards his young protege. Why, yes, absolutely. We'll be there before you can say Cinco de Mayo, Paco assured. Thanks again, Yanlin smiled. Now I think it's time we put this guy where he belongs alongside his friends in Section 13, along with the mask. She held the Oni mask in her hand. We will help to escort you there, just to make sure nobody else tries to take it. Toru told the elderly woman. Girls. Jackie got everyone else's attention. You all did well tonight. Go and enjoy the rest of your Halloween. If it's okay with you, Jackie, I think we've had enough horrors for one night. Will said. Oh yeah. Cornelia nodded. Ditto. Alchemy added. No question. Terani said. I've had my Halloween fill. Hey Lin added. You guys go ahead, Paco and I got a little something to do. Jade said. And no Cornelia, it's not a date. She said with annoyance in her tone. Sure, whatever you say. Cornelia said not so innocently. What do you say, Paco? Jade offered. You had some good moves back there, taking on an Oni demon. You're wrestling against my Kung Fu. El Toro. Paco looked toward his mentor for the final word of permission. You did say no wrestling outside the ring. I suppose we can make an exception this one time. El Toro assured with a smile. So long as it doesn't go too far. Paco smiled before turning with a grin towards Jade. No magic powers or talismans. 2 falls out of 3, Jade. You're on. Jade accepted as they each took a stance based on their respective combat style, smirking towards the other before charging head on. And it's the end of part